Chu Ziqiao, the world's top assassin, accepts her latest assignment. As she takes the card, a faint, unfamiliar scent pricks her senses, raising a flicker of suspicion. An attacker lunges at her, mocking her supposed lack of vigilance. He sneers, questioning how she could ever be ranked first with such carelessness. With a bruised but triumphant smirk, he signals his allies. Instantly, she finds herself encircled by a horde of armed thugs, ready for a fight. The horrifying truth dawns on her: this is a betrayal. The strange scent was a trap, and she's been lured into an ambush. He gloats about his cunning plan, revealing he used a potent drug to subdue her. Her legendary skills were too formidable for a direct confrontation. A strange heat surges through her body, her breath catching in her throat. The substance isn't a poison to kill, but a fire to incapacitate. Damn it. The leader's vile words echo, offering her as a prize to his men. A wave of humiliation washes over her, fueling a cold, burning rage. To their astonishment, she's still a blur of deadly motion, cutting through their ranks. The leader screams in disbelief, demanding they kill her immediately. Consumed by rage, he reveals his final, desperate gambit. With eyes glowing malevolently, he triggers a detonator, determined to send her to hell. The world erupts in a blast, and he is thrown into the air, laughing maniacally. He believes this is his moment of triumph, the day he becomes #1. Lying broken, Chu Ziqiao feels her life slipping away. The world's greatest killer, dying in such a pathetic, dishonorable way. She awakens to a pounding headache in an unfamiliar, ornate bed. A young servant girl cries out in alarm, announcing that the miss is finally awake. An older woman, weeping with joy, rushes to her side, holding her hand. It seems her awakening is a cause for immense relief and celebration in this household. A wave of disorientation hits her as she looks down at her hands. They are delicate, unfamiliar, they are not hers. Where is she and what has happened? She clutches her throat, a sharp pain preventing her from speaking. Panic begins to set in as she questions the state of this strange, new body. The woman she now knows as Mom gently reassures her. Kyo doesn't need to speak. She just needs to communicate her needs however she can. Her mother reveals a shocking truth. This body has been mute since childhood. Staring into a hand mirror, she sees a stranger's face looking back at her. A beautifully dressed young woman enters, a picture of concern. Her sister has finally woken up, and she feigns profound relief. The sister speaks of their mother's exhaustion and worry. Surrounded by ancient attire and customs, Chu Ziqiao connects the dots. She has been reborn in another era. With a raspy cough, she forces out words, asking what's wrong and where she is. The room falls silent, her voice a shocking impossibility to everyone present. Her sister points in astonishment, questioning how she can suddenly speak. Her mother, equally shocked, gently asks if Kyo remembers who she is. Wiping away a tear, the mother promises a doctor is on the way. She assesses the scene. This is the birth mother, and that other one. Something is off about her. She feigns weakness, noting her headache and sore throat. The delicate, frail sound of her own voice is unnerving. She, Chu Ziqiao, has never had to play the victim. A servant announces a visitor, Lord Jin. A striking man with long, silver hair and a commanding presence enters the room. The two women of the house greet the lord with deference. From her bed, she observes the scene, an outsider in her own room. He dismisses the need for formalities, given her condition. Yet, she can feel the undisguised animosity in his tone, even as her sister swoons over his apparent concern. Jiao steps forward, offering thanks on behalf of her unwell sister. Her performance is flawless, a picture of grace and gratitude. He explains his visit is a matter of obligation, as her illness has become a topic of discussion. He mentions his brother's concern, while Jiao plays her part coyly. Despite his polite words, his expression betrays him. The look he gives her is one of pure, unadulterated disgust. The mother, oblivious to the undercurrents of contempt, expresses her gratitude to the Lord for his visit and kind words. His duty done, Lord Jin takes his leave. The polite smile doesn't reach his eyes, which remain frigid and distant. Jiao suddenly remembers an urgent matter and rushes to leave alongside the Lord. The connection is obvious now. Her sister is clearly in love with him. The mother inquires after the master of the house, only to be told he is with the second lady. A flicker of disappointment crosses her face. Kyo asks her mother why her father hasn't come to see her after her injury. A deep, aching pain throughout her body adds to her misery. Her mother embraces her tightly, taking the blame for the accident. She confesses that it was her fault Kyo fell from the attic. Claiming amnesia, Kyo says she can't remember the details. Her mother finds this a blessing, preferring she forget the painful memories. Turning to the maid, Ling Dang, the mother issues a stern command. Protect the young miss at all costs. Her expression hardens into a cold threat. She makes it clear to the maid that another failure will have dire consequences. Her gentle demeanor returns as she tucks her daughter into bed. She urges her to rest and leave her worries behind. As soon as the room is empty, she sits up, dropping the facade of a weak girl. It's time to assess her new reality. Closing her eyes, she focuses inward, desperately hoping her years of training were not lost in the transition. Her skills are her only real asset. A familiar power begins to flow within her. To her immense relief and joy, she realizes her internal skills have come with her to this new life. A confident smirk graces her lips. With her abilities intact, she is no longer helpless. She can survive this. Elsewhere, Lord Jin presents a flower to Jiao, a charming invitation to view the gardens together. Flustered and delighted, Jiao graciously accepts his invitation, her happiness evident. With calculated sweetness, Jiao suggests they invite her recovering sister along. It's a perfect display of sisterly concern. He pats her head, praising her for her kind heart and agreeing to the idea. She basks in his approval. Jiao subtly plants a seed of doubt, mentioning how her sister, despite her illness, seemed to be secretly watching him. He pulls her into an embrace, dismissing her sister as an ugly woman. His words are meant to soothe her, but they drip with contempt for his betrothed. With a knowing smile, he playfully accuses her of being jealous. He sees through her act but finds it amusing. She quickly backs down, feigning concern that her sister's behavior might upset him. He laughs, finding her manufactured kindness charming. Ling Dang returns with the requested books and maps, her expression puzzled. She cannot fathom why her miss would need such things. While studying a map to get her bearings in this new world, she casually asks her maid for her mother's whereabouts. The maid reports that the madam is in high spirits and has sent a gift. It's a small pouch, said to be beneficial for her health. Inside is a jade phoenix pendant, a symbol of immense status. She wonders how the daughter of a mere general could possess an item of such royal significance. As she touches it, a sharp point pricks her finger. A drop of her blood falls onto the gem, which begins to glow as it absorbs it. The maid reminds her of the madam's instructions to keep it close. Kyo is more interested in the pendant's strange reaction to her blood. This could be useful. Seeing the pendant on her, the maid asks about her engagement. Kyo is blindsided by the news. She's engaged, and to whom? The maid reveals the pendant is an engagement token from Lord Jin himself. Before the accident, she was never without it. It all clicks into place. Lord Jin's disgust makes sense if he's betrothed to a useless girl. She scoffs and tells the maid to put it away. She'll return it soon. The maid compliments her looks, but she knows better. This face is attractive, but a pretty face won't be enough to sway a man who already despises her. She questions her maid, wondering why she no longer helps her with makeup, as would be customary. Ling Dang clarifies that her miss never wore makeup. She only ever applied a simple skin cream. The maid hesitantly explains that the second miss always provided makeup powders. The previous Kyo had trusted her sister to apply it for her. The truth hits her like a physical blow. Her own sister had been making her look ugly. She reassures her loyal maid that things are about to change. With this newfound knowledge, her resolve hardens. The time for being a victim is over. As her maid tends to her hair, she notes that the head wound is healing well. The maid assures her that a little ointment will prevent any scarring. She studies her face in the mirror, contemplating her next move. The cheerful, saccharine voice of her sister rings out, announcing her visit. She steels herself, ready for the confrontation. Today, she will finally see what this conniving sister is truly made of. Jiao sweeps in with a tray, feigning concern about her recovery and boredom. The act is almost convincing. She smiles faintly, internally noting that her sister must be surprised to see her face washed clean. The little fool used to believe her own sabotage. Jiao delivers the message from Lord Jin, an invitation to view the blooming flowers. She presents a gift of makeup powders, explaining she brought them fearing her sister wouldn't go out otherwise. She offers the elaborate boxes, asking sweetly if her sister likes the gift. She accepts the gift with a thoughtful smile, but plants a seed of doubt. Why would Lord Jin send a message through her and not mention it himself when he visited? Jiao has a ready excuse, claiming it was to protect her sister's delicate reputation. Feigning worry, Jiao asks if she has upset her. Kyo simply tells her to forget it, cutting the act short. She turns the tables, inviting her sister to apply the makeup for her. Jiao can barely contain her glee at the opportunity. The sister excitedly agrees, promising to use all her skill to create a beautiful look for her. After finishing, Jiao holds up her tools, beaming with pride over the special makeup she created. She eagerly tells her sister to see the result. Giving a thumbs up to the clownish makeup, Kaio declares it's good. They head out, Jiao smugly satisfied with her handiwork. Lord Jin waits with an air of profound boredom. He takes a sip from his cup, his eyes opening as they approach. The sight of her garish makeup makes him choke, spitting his drink everywhere. Flustered and appalled, he quickly dismisses her. Jiao immediately fusses over him, playing the part of the concerned caregiver. He notes her attentiveness, a stark contrast to his fiancée's shocking appearance. He flatters Jiao comparing her beauty favorably to the surrounding scenery. She responds with a coy display of humility. While nibbling on a pastry, she observes their blatant flirtation. The original owner of this body must have been a complete fool. Seeking more attention, Jiao proposes that she and her sister perform a dance for Lord Jin. He agrees readily, but his praise is directed solely at Jiao. He clearly has no interest in seeing her sister perform. He casually dismisses the idea of Kaio dancing, as if she is not even worth considering. Ling Dang fumes silently at the insult. Triumphant, Jiao pretends she cannot refuse the prince's request. She condescendingly tells her sister to watch from the sidelines. He pulls her into a dance, their movements intimate and affectionate. They are completely absorbed in each other. Her maid, ever loyal, suggests they retreat from the windy pavilion, trying to spare her miss from the humiliating display. She smirks, taking a sip from her cup. This drama is far too entertaining to miss. He hears her remark and turns, his face a mask of fury. He will not be mocked by this ugly girl. Jiao quickly intervenes, attempting to smooth things over by blaming her sister's bad mood and apologizing for her. He cuts her off, reaffirming that his attention is solely for her. He has no time for her sister's antics. Seeing the spectacle is over, she announces her departure. She has business to attend to and is no longer needed here. Jiao continues her performance of the kind, apologetic sister. Lord Jin again reassures her of his distaste for his betrothed. He looks at Jiao with a determined expression, promising to give her a proper status for her own sake. She looks up at him with teary eyes, proclaiming that she doesn't fear the injustice of her position as long as she has him. He promises to handle things. From afar, Kaio observes their clandestine affair with contempt. Ling Dang marvels at her mistress's newfound strength and aura. She brushes it off, saying her mother will be happy. To explain her changes, she concocts a story about dreaming of a martial arts master while she was ill. She tells her maid she's been practicing the dream-taught arts in secret. The maid's immediate concern is whether she was practicing out of fear. She lowers her voice, explaining that as the unfavored daughter of a concubine, she was always at a disadvantage. For now, it's better to remain discreet. She dons a veil, preparing to venture out. The maid is completely starstruck, marveling at how amazing her lady has become. She instructs her loyal maid to stand guard and tell her mother she's asleep. It's time for some reconnaissance. Unseen in the darkness, a masked figure observes her departure. He muses that the general's mansion holds more secrets than he thought. Her destination is clear. She stealthily approaches the quarters of her stepmother, Aunt May. She listens as the general and his concubine discuss their daughter. With Kaio already engaged, it's time to find a husband for Jiao. The general considers the possibilities for a match, while Aunt May expresses her simple relief that he cares for their daughter's future at all. She voices her concerns about Jiao's age and status. Time is running out, and her prospects are limited. From her hiding spot, she finally grasps their ambition. They're plotting to displace her own mother. At the mention of Kaio, the general explodes with fury. He calls her a disgrace and refuses to even discuss her. His concubine attempts to soothe him, but he continues to rant about the shame his eldest daughter has brought upon him throughout her life. He bitterly reveals the engagement was forced by the emperor's decree. He feels no fatherly affection, only contempt. Hearing his vitriol, she wonders how he'd react if he knew she might actually want the marriage now. Deciding this path is a dead end, she heads for the study. The hidden observer is shocked. The general's useless daughter possesses incredible skill, able to conceal her presence as well as he can. She finds the study conveniently empty. It's the perfect chance to learn more about the political landscape, she's been thrown into. Morning comes, and so does Jiao calling out for her sister as she approaches the residence. Ling Dang attempts to follow protocol and announce the visitor, but Jiao scolds her for her impertinence. Jiao temper flares, and she berates the servant girl, accusing her of not knowing her place. She decides to teach the servant a lesson herself, raising her hand to deliver a slap. Just as her hand is about to connect, Jiao emerges, casually asking what's causing such a commotion. Jiao instantly changes her tune, playing the victim and framing her actions as a defense of her sister's honor. The maid feels a pang of hopelessness. Her miss is kind, but Jiao is a master manipulator. Completely ignoring the drama, Jiao stretches and casually tells Ling Dang to fetch breakfast. The dismissal is absolute. Jiao is left speechless. This is not the weak, pliable sister she knows. Did the fall somehow knock some sense into her? Ling Dang serves breakfast, and Jiao calmly sips her tea. She coolly asks her sister to state her purpose. Jiao brings up the lake visit, but Jiao feigns memory loss. She finds the idea that Lord Jin would invite her absurd, but suggests they eat first. Jiao eagerly offers her makeup services again. Jiao muses that her sister seems to have developed a strange obsession. Her loyal maid interjects, suggesting that she should be the one to help her mistress prepare, especially for an outing. Jiao waves off her maid's concern, stating her complete trust in her sister's talents. Jiao beams, promising a masterpiece. She inwardly smirks, eagerly anticipating the shock and horror on Lord Jin's face. As they walk through the streets, onlookers stare and murmur. It's been a long time since the general's infamous daughter has been seen in public. The gossip continues, focusing on her terrifying appearance and pitying the beautiful sister forced to accompany her. Jiao pretends to be demure, but is secretly pleased. The public humiliation reaches its peak as a man mocks Lord Jin's fate. Unbeknownst to them, the Lord himself is nearby, and his fury boils. She arrives, offering a cheerful greeting to Lord Jin. Her appearance is a masterpiece of disastrous makeup. A subordinate reports to the mysterious masked man, identifying the two women as the daughters of General Chu. He relays the common knowledge. Chu Ziqiao is famously untalented and unable to speak, a well-known waste. The masked man watches the scene unfold, convinced there is more to this girl than meets the eye. One should never judge a book by its cover. Lord Jin loses his composure, grabbing her and accusing her of deliberately embarrassing him. He refuses to let her blame Jiao for the stunt. Jiao barely hides her amusement, watching her sister get berated by the furious lord. He publicly declares his love for Jiao, pointing a finger at Jiao and vowing she will never be his wife. Jiao clings to his arm, putting on a show of pleading on her sister's behalf. Tears stream down her face as she sobs that this is all her fault. It's a convincing performance. Unfazed by the drama, Jiao poses a simple, cutting question. If he despises her so much, why did he agree to the engagement in the first place? Her eyes gleam with resolve. No matter what, she will claim the title of Princess Jin. She will not let her sister take it. Jiao steps between them, chiding her sister for her public outburst and for embarrassing Lord Jin. Enraged, Lord Jin yells that she has no say in his affairs. With a snarl, he declares that he is not afraid to break their engagement here and now. This is exactly what she wanted. She triumphantly reveals the engagement token, reminding him that she holds the proof of their betrothal. Advantage, reminding him that she dangling holds the token and proof of their challenging his authority betrothal. Without her consent, what power does his preference for Jiao truly hold? Jiao reaches for the pendant, pleading with her sister to stop provoking him. The tears start again, as Jiao insists she never meant to cause trouble between them. She tearfully professes her innocence and pure intentions, playing the tragic victim of circumstance. Having had enough, Lord Jin snatches the cord of the engagement pendant from her hand. He announces his intention to sever their ties permanently, silencing Jiao protests about her sister's reputation. He crushes the jade token in his fist, severing their last connection with finality. She watches him, a blank expression on her face. "Oh," she says, her mind racing. "How easy it is." Jiao stares, bewildered. She can't believe it was that simple to end the engagement. Jiao laughs it off, declaring that if fate wills it, so be it. She turns her back on them and walks away without a second glance. He watches her leave, completely perplexed. Instead of being devastated, she appears genuinely happy to be free of him. A terrible realization dawns on him. In his anger, he has completely disregarded his brother's explicit warnings and instructions. This is bad. His demeanor shifts. He gently dismisses a hopeful Jiao, claiming urgent business at the palace. She agrees, her hopes dashed for the moment. The shattered pieces of the pendant on the cobblestones are all that remain of her brief victory. Safely away, she cleans her face, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. She is finally free of them. She turns to Ling Dang, a triumphant smile on her face. This calls for a celebration. The maid is confused. Her miss had supposedly loved Lord Jin deeply. Why would she force the end of their marriage? Her expression hardens slightly as she tells her maid to drop the subject. She reminds Ling Dang exactly who her boss is, and the terrified maid falls to her knees, admitting her fault and begging for forgiveness. She tells the girl to stand, showing mercy. She understands her mother was just worried and holds no grudge against the maid. Suddenly, the sounds of a chase interrupt their conversation. Someone is running for their life. An injured figure stumbles and falls right at their feet, sending Ling Dang into a panic. A masked pursuer arrives, blade drawn, with clear intent to eliminate any and all witnesses. Jiao calmly tells her maid to be careful, moving to protect her, while discreetly drawing a weapon of her own. The person on the ground, a young woman, urges them to flee. These pursuers are her problem, not theirs. Noticing a dislocated arm, Jiao quickly pops it back into place. The injured woman thanks her benefactor, stunned. With the immediate threat seemingly neutralized, Ling Dang nervously suggests they leave this place of violence as soon as possible. She ignores her maid's plea and addresses the rescued stranger, asking for her identity and the reason for the chase. The stranger looks at her, considering the offer of sanctuary. She has nowhere else to go. She kneels in gratitude, explaining that she is the sole survivor of a massacre and has no name or home left. She makes a solemn promise. Once her family is avenged, she will repay this debt in any way her savior desires. Jiao accepts the new charge, telling Ling Dang to find her a place to stay discreetly. Meanwhile, within the imposing walls of the Imperial Palace, a different kind of storm is brewing. The Crown Prince confronts his younger brother, furious that he broke the engagement without consulting anyone. He lectures him on the political ramifications, reminding him of the general's immense military power and the fragile state of their borders. Lord Jin, looking chastised, asks resignedly what his brother expects him to do now. A cunning smile appears on his face. Since the engagement is already broken, he has an alternative solution to secure the general's power. He leans in and whispers a new, audacious plan into his brother's ear. Jiao bursts in, unable to contain her glee. She tells her mother the wonderful news of her sister's public humiliation. Her mother's eyes light up with ambition. Her first question is about when Lord Jin will make Jiao his wife. Jiao excitement falters as she remembers her status. Her mother reassures her, plotting to manipulate the general into making her a legal wife. She voices her doubt, knowing her father will not be easily persuaded to elevate their status. Her mother leans in, whispering a devious plan. At the general's upcoming birthday party, they will force his hand. A cruel smile touches Jiao lips. Her mother's plan is perfect. It will not only secure her future, but also dispose of her unwanted sister. Things have been quiet. Lounging in the garden, Jiao casually asks her maid for any news on Jiao activities. Ling Dang nervously reports that she overheard Aunt May discussing Jiao marriage prospects with the general. She stretches languidly, completely unconcerned. With her out of the way, it's only natural for them to make their move. As if on cue, Jiao appears, flanked by her maids, ready for another confrontation. Jiao approaches, her smile wide and cheerful as she remarks on her sister's pleasant disposition. Jiao fires back a cutting remark about her sister's sleepless nights spent scheming, then coolly asks the reason for her visit. Jiao reminds her of their father's birthday, a pointed question about whether she, the unfavored daughter, has prepared a suitable gift. Jiao sighs dramatically, lamenting her lack of funds due to her unfavored status. Her feigned helplessness visibly irks her sister. She continues her act, worrying aloud that a cheap gift would only incur their father's wrath. Jiao patience wears thin. She grabs her sister's arm, insisting she come with her. She frames the outing as an opportunity for Jiao to win back their father's favor. Jiao is convinced she is setting a trap, eager to see what her sister will do. Jiao, however, remains entirely unimpressed by the scheme. With a theatrical sigh, Jiao agrees to go along. Jiao is thrilled, believing her plan is working perfectly. Jiao leads them to a high-end jewelry pavilion. Kyo is wary. This isn't a simple shopping trip. Jiao shows off an expensive piece, but Kyo questions the choice. Weren't they supposed to be shopping for their father? Jiao quickly changes her story, claiming her only motivation is to prevent her sister from embarrassing herself at the party. She puts on a wounded expression, asking if her sister could possibly fault her for such selfless concern. In a brilliant reversal, Kyo buys an armful of expensive jewelry and hands it all to her stunned sister, remarking that Jiao own accessories are too simple. The other patrons in the shop murmur in shock. They had thought Jiao was the kind one, but this display of passive aggression is vicious. Jiao is left speechless and trembling with humiliation. Her own trap sprung back on her. Leaning in, Kyo calmly advises her sister not to cause a scene. The threat is unspoken but clear. Their little drama is interrupted by a commotion outside. The crowd buzzes with the arrival of Lin Weiner, the most talented girl in the city. A beautiful woman steps out of a carriage, and the crowd sighs in admiration of her grace and beauty. She addresses the carriage directly, asking if King Bingjian is within. From inside the carriage, a man with a fan coolly responds, his tone flirtatious and arrogant. Her face contorts in disgust. She knew he was useless, but she hadn't realized he was this shameless. She reveals another engagement pendant. She announces her purpose loud and clear. She is here to break their engagement. She would rather marry an animal than a man like him. He leans out, a smirk on his face. He finds her audacity interesting. His eyes gleam with challenge and amusement as he propositions her. Furious at his gall, she calls him a braggart and shoves the jade pendant towards him. With a final, decisive act, she smashes the pendant on the ground, severing their connection forever. He simply watches her, a cool, unreadable expression on his face as he hides behind his fan. This is just getting interesting. A jade ornament is casually tossed, then shatters upon the stone floor. The wish is granted, and with it, a bond is irrevocably broken. With a placid smile, the man declares the matter settled. He coolly suggests that Miss Lin should waste no time in leaving his presence. He announces his departure to the onlookers, ready to leave this place, and the woman behind without a second thought. She watches him leave, her heart sinking with self-loathing. She wonders if she is as worthless and broken as the shattered jade. An onlooker watches the scene unfold with a sharp, calculating gaze. A new scheme begins to form in her mind, linking the disgraced king to Chu Ziqiao. Jiao makes a sudden excuse to leave her sister. Ziqiao agrees, but inwardly scoffs at her sister's transparently manipulative words. Ziqiao decides to inspect a restaurant she is considering purchasing. Business takes precedence over sentiment. They arrive at the designated property. Ziqiao instructs her attendant to go inside and find them a table. The proprietor greets her with excessive, fawning praise, practically groveling at her feet. She endures it with a weary stoicism. She gives the man a clear warning. Her identity is to remain a secret. Obedience will be rewarded, and he eagerly agrees to the terms. She reminds him of her power, how she turned his failing business into a success. A veiled threat follows, promising consequences for any deviation from her orders. To drive the point home, she crushes a ceramic cup in her bare hand. Her strength and her warning are now perfectly clear. The man is trembling with fear, but understands her message completely. His livelihood depends entirely on her goodwill. Ziqiao spots King Bingjian and feels a pull of destiny. She instructs her maid to go and invite the king for a drink. She approaches his table with a formal, polite invitation. She offers to have the honor of buying him a drink. He meets her offer with a playful smile, questioning if she is not concerned that associating with him will tarnish her reputation. They sit together as she dismisses any concern for a reputation she lacks. He, in turn, recognizes she is far from an ordinary person. She deflects the compliment back at him, suggesting that he is just as remarkable as he claims her to be. He laughs, breaking the formality between them. He suggests they become friends and use their given names, Kingren and Ziqiao. A smile touches her lips as she accepts his offer of friendship. They are no longer strangers but Ziqiao and Kingren. The hour has grown late, and Ziqiao announces that it is time for her to depart. Their pleasant meeting has come to an end. Ziqiao gives a formal farewell, proposing they do this again sometime. Kingren reciprocates the gesture, his private thoughts affirming his initial assessment. This woman is indeed exceptional. Several days pass, and night falls over an opulent estate. The sign above the gate identifies the location as the general mansion. Chu Ziqiao and her sister, Chu Ziqiao, are formally announced as they enter the hall for the longevity celebration. The birthday party is in full swing, appearing quite decent to the assembled guests. The arrival of Lord Jin is announced, along with a list of his incredibly lavish gifts. The guests murmur in awe of his immense generosity. Two guests gossip about the recent broken engagement. They speculate on which daughter will now have the chance to marry into the palace. King Bingjian arrives, offering his own presents and paying his respects to the general. Ziqiao watches Kingren with confusion, wondering about the purpose of his public appearance and if his health can withstand the strain. Her sister Jiao tries to coax her into dancing for their father's birthday. Ziqiao flatly refuses, wishing to avoid any drama. Jiao accepts the refusal and gracefully decides to go perform on her own. Jiao presents herself before her father, offering to perform a dance in honor of his birthday. She begins to dance gracefully, offering a performance full of well wishes for her father's long life and happiness. The general is delighted by his daughter's display of affection, while a man beside him offers a knowing, cynical smile. Kingren observes from his seat, a sense of anticipation growing within him. He feels that the night's festivities are about to take an interesting turn. Ziqiao feels a wave of boredom wash over her. The endless, repetitive chatter of the guests is draining her patience. Her thoughts drift back to her far more stimulating conversation with Liu Kingren. As Lord Jin enjoys the performance, a servant startles and spills wine on his robes. His pleasant mood vanishes instantly. He erupts in anger, berating the terrified servant who can only beg for his forgiveness. Jiao smoothly steps in to de-escalate the situation. She calms the lord and offers to arrange for him to change his ruined coat. She smiles sweetly at him, demurely insisting he need not be so formal with her. Jiao instructs her maid, King to guide Lord Jin away, reminding her to be careful. From their table, Ziqiao and Kingren watch the scene unfold. Ziqiao realizes with a jolt that a scheme is afoot, and her sister's own sweetheart is the target. The general's wife suggests to her husband that the party move to the garden to admire the blooming peonies. The general praises her thoughtfulness, readily agreeing to her excellent idea. Ziqiao quietly orders her attendant, Belle, to follow the maid and Lord Jin. She needs to know exactly what they are planning. In the garden, Jiao confronts Ziqiao, grabbing her arm. Ziqiao is startled by the sudden change in her sister's scent. Jiao sneers, revealing she has a special gift for her sister. Ziqiao realizes with dawning horror that she's been drugged. She finds herself on a bed, the drug weakening her body. She silently curses her sister's treacherous attempt to destroy her reputation. Jiao finds Kingren and weaves a tale of her sister being drunk and sad, imploring him to go comfort her. Kingren enters the room, finding Ziqiao lying on the bed. He already knows it's a trap and asks why she fell for it. He admits his own curiosity about her sister's plan was his reason for coming, making a dry remark about petty schemes. He approaches, asking if she is unwell. She urgently warns him to stay back, explaining she has been poisoned and must focus on expelling it. He is taken aback by her internal strength, realizing the rumors he's heard about her are far from the truth. She sits up, meditating to fight the poison's effects. She challenges him, asking if he finally understands that some rumors can be trusted. He asks what she will do now. She rises, her resolve clear. A gift was given, and a favor must be returned. Intrigued, he leans closer, asking what kind of gift she has in mind. She finds herself momentarily flustered by his handsome features up close. She brushes off his question, insisting it's a secret she can handle alone. As she departs, a thought strikes her. Liu Kingren seemed different just now, not at all like the man she first met. Kingren gives his attendant a new, specific order. He is to find a stableman from the mansion and administer a certain type of medicine. Elsewhere, Lord Jin feels an inexplicable wave of fatigue. He decides to lie down and rest for a moment. Ziqiao stands outside the room, a familiar, sinister fragrance in the air. She realizes it's a two-part drug, and her own sachet was the trigger for her former fiancé. She peers inside and sees the drugged Lord Jin on the bed. She scoffs at his foolishness for falling into the trap. A sly smile plays on her lips. The love token she gave her brother was indeed a very deadly one. She pulls the unconscious man off the bed and shoves him underneath. She tells herself she's saving him, not seeking revenge. Struggling with the drug's effects, Lord Jin wonders who could have set him up. She then drags another unconscious man, the drugged stableman, and places him in the bed. This is a far more fitting partner for her sister. The stage is set. She steps back, anticipating the drama that is sure to follow. Jiao waits, full of triumphant confidence. She believes her plan is succeeding and her path to becoming a princess is secure. She enters the room, approaching the bed with a soft, inviting call to the man she believes is Lord Jin. Under the bed, Lord Jin seethes with humiliation. He feels he has been thoroughly played by a woman and curses Ziqiao's false purity. Ziqiao returns to her own chamber to find Kingren. She finds him looking pale and weak and asks with genuine concern if he is all right. He waves off her worry, claiming it is merely a flare-up of an old ailment he has grown used to. She feels a surge of pity for him. It seems a cruel fate for such a romantic, carefree man to be tormented by illness. The general and his wife arrive at the room where they sent Lord Jin to rest, intending to catch him in a compromising position. The general fumes, ready to demand satisfaction from the royal son for what he assumes has been done to his daughter. His wife urges him on, determined to salvage her daughter's reputation by forcing a marriage proposal. Convinced their plan is a success, the general throws open the doors to confront the occupants. He storms into the room, bellowing with rage, demanding how Lord Jin could have dishonored his daughter. From his hiding spot on the floor, Lord Jin can only think that they are putting on quite a performance. Believing her daughter has triumphed, the mother calls out, rushing forward to offer her comfort and promise justice. The curtain is pulled back to reveal the shocking truth. Jiao is in bed not with a lord, but with a lowly stableman. The general is speechless with fury, while Jiao and the stableman can only stammer that they don't know what happened. The general quickly orders a cover-up. He declares that his daughter simply fell ill and nothing else occurred. Jiao is left disgraced and full of hatred. She knows Chu Ziqiao is behind this and silently vows revenge. Ziqiao and Kingren reflect on the night's events. The problem has been solved, thanks in part to a mysterious helper. He teases her gently, questioning if she plans to discard him now that she has another man to help her. She dismisses his jest, stating that this was a personal affair between her and her sister. He suggests a walk among the flowers, but she declines. She knows her sister will be looking for her and wants to avoid being found with him. He departs with a playful pat on her head, which earns him a light-hearted complaint. A maid eavesdrops outside the guest rooms, confused by the lack of scandalous activity and wondering about the king's vitality. Confronts her sister, feigning worry over her sickly appearance. Jiao is stunned to see Ziqiao looking perfectly fine. With a saccharine smile, Ziqiao thanks her sister for the medicine that gave her such a restful sleep. Jiao is bewildered, insisting it's impossible. Ziqiao slyly twists the knife, asking if her sister was perhaps looking for someone else. Ziqiao delivers the final blow, revealing with a triumphant smile that King Bingjian was never even at the mansion. Jiao composure shatters. She shrieks that Lord Jin is hers, and she will be the superior daughter once her mother is made the official wife. Listening from the shadows, Lord Jin reevaluates everything. Chu Ziqiao is far more complex and dangerous than she seems. The maid King searches frantically for her mistress. When she finds her, Jiao is consumed with internal rage at the maid's failure to execute the plan correctly. Jiao unleashes her fury on the maid, slapping her and blaming her for leading Lord Jin elsewhere. She screams accusations of betrayal at the terrified girl, who can only insist on her innocence. The arrival of another servant interrupts the tirade, announcing that Jiao mother is looking for her. Jiao orders the maid dragged away and beaten to death on a false charge of theft. Desperate, King turns to Ziqiao, begging for help. Ziqiao notes with dry amusement that she is finally being noticed. The maid offers to trade all of her mistress's secrets for her life, but Ziqiao coldly kicks her away. Ziqiao feels only disdain, refusing to intervene as the treacherous maid is taken away to her fate. Jiao stalks away, spitting threats. She vows that Ziqiao's victory is temporary and she will have her revenge. Ziqiao reflects on the confrontation. She had overestimated her sister. She was not such a formidable opponent after all. Her maid, Belle, finds her. Ziqiao asks what happened to the maid her sister had beaten. Belle reports that she had suspected foul play and followed King to the kitchen. She saw the maid poison the tea intended for her mother and secretly switched the cups to protect her. Ziqiao praises Belle for her quick thinking and loyalty, pulling her up from her knees and holding her hands warmly. She tells Belle to remain clever, entrusting her to look after her mother, who lacks any self-defense skills. She instructs Belle to stop kneeling so easily, especially when they are alone. It is a moment of unexpected kindness. At the mansion gates, the general bids his guests farewell. Lord Jin departs abruptly, clearly displeased. The general speculates about Lord Jin's unhappiness. King Bingjian politely takes his leave as well. In his carriage, Kingren learns from his attendant that Lord Jin is now aware of Chu Ziqiao's treacherous plot against him. A small, genuine smile graces Kingren's lips. He thinks to himself that Ziqiao is, at her core, a kind person. The following day, Ziqiao finds herself wrestling with her new reality in this unfamiliar world. Restless and bored, she asks Belle for suggestions on where to go, but her maid says no place is suitable for a proper lady. Belle explains that boating parties on the lake are currently in vogue, where young ladies show off their talents. The concept is foreign to Ziqiao. She scoffs, confident that her modern skills in various arts will be more than enough to impress anyone. Then, a sudden, horrifying realization dawns on her. In this body, in this world, she knows none of the required classical arts. She collapses in despair, lamenting that her body's previous owner was utterly talentless. She asks with desperate hope when the talent contest will be held, viewing it as her only chance for some amusement. Belle informs her that it is in 10 days, the unspoken implication being that it's an impossible time frame. An idea sparks in Ziqiao's mind. She sends Belle to her mother with a secret request. Belle's arrival causes her mother immediate alarm, fearing that something is wrong with her daughter. Belle quickly reassures the madam, explaining that the young lady wishes to learn the gyukin and requires an instrument. Delighted by this sudden interest, her mother happily offers her own priceless gyukin for her daughter to use. Carrying the heavy instrument, Belle feels a sense of hope. Perhaps the new young lady can fulfill the dreams her mother had to abandon. The mother watches her go, her only wish for her daughter to be safe and happy. She will not push her own ambitions onto her. Jiao weeps to her mother, terrified that her ruined purity will cost her the chance to become a princess. Her mother consoles her with another devious plan, involving the upcoming lake party, and a generous amount of wine. Jiao tears dry up, replaced by admiration for her mother's cunning. She is now confident she can secure Lord Jin's proposal. Ziqiao faces the precious gyukin as Belle fusses, nervously, begging her to handle the valuable instrument with care. Jiao appears, feigning surprise that her supposedly talentless sister is now preparing to learn the gyukin. She punctuates her condescension by slapping Belle for her impertinent remark. Jiao declares her intent to teach the servant a lesson for her insolence. She then turns to Ziqiao, suggesting that she, as the first lady, ought to be the one to properly discipline her own maid. Ziqiao ignores the taunt and comforts Belle, telling her that she should have taught her to fight back against bullies. Her eyes narrow with cold fury as she commands Belle to return the slap. Belle hesitates, but Jiao attention has already been captured by the beautiful gyukin, which she now openly desires. Ziqiao feels a surge of protective anger. That instrument is one of her mother's most cherished possessions. Jiao asks to borrow the instrument, but Ziqiao counters with a challenge. She can listen to her sister play a new song. Belle freezes in terror, knowing her mistress is bluffing. The bluff works perfectly. Jiao unwilling to be shown up, quickly makes an excuse and flees. Ziqiao laughs at her victory. Belle asks if her mistress is still upset about the slap, her face showing relief and concern. Ziqiao changes the topic, inquiring about how long Belle has served her mother. When she broaches the subject of arranging a marriage for her, Belle falls to her knees in a panic, pleading not to be sent away. Ziqiao reassures her it was only a passing thought, lightening the mood with a joke about kicking her out. Belle voices her practical concern that constant conflict with Jiao will damage Ziqiao's reputation. Ziqiao acknowledges the wisdom in her maid's caution, but affirms that she will continue to handle things her own way. King Bingjian's attendant expresses worries about the lake party, but the king has already made his decision and will not be swayed. The attendant, Xiao Tong, insists on accompanying him for protection, and the king reluctantly agrees. Belle questions Ziqiao's choice to dress so plainly, especially in contrast to her sister's finery. Ziqiao explains her strategy with a sly smile. She intends to avoid trouble by appearing unremarkable. Despite Belle's concerns about what the madam will think, Ziqiao insists on the simple attire. King Bingjian briefs his subordinate. The emperor may be attending the party incognito to find a queen, so they must be vigilant. He then dismisses the subordinate, intending to wander on his own, much to his man's unease. Ziqiao waits outside, playing a simple tune. She refuses to leave for the party until her sister makes an appearance. Belle compliments her mistress's playing, but Ziqiao suddenly senses they are being watched. Satisfied with her performance, she decides it's time to go and fetch her sister. The observer, King Bingjian, is impressed by her keen senses and her altered appearance. Meanwhile, Jiao stages a scene in Ziqiao's room, berating servants for supposedly ruining the dress Ziqiao was meant to wear. She and her maid conspire to use this fabricated incident to provoke her sister. Jiao barges into the room, shoving the maids aside as she demands to know why Ziqiao isn't ready for the party. She continues her act inside, yelling at the servants to clean up the mess she created. Ziqiao arrives, plainly dressed. Jiao feigns surprise, questioning why her sister has come before she herself has finished preparing. Ziqiao fires back a subtle insult, asking if her sister's dress is an outdated style from last year. Flustered by the retort, Jiao insists they must leave immediately. Upon their arrival at the lake, they are greeted by other ladies, but the crowd murmurs, mocking Ziqiao's plain clothing. Jiao fumes inwardly, resentful that her sister's presence is causing her to be subjected to mockery. Belle urges her mistress to let her teach the rude onlookers a lesson, but Ziqiao remains calm and unbothered. On a simple boat, an attendant named Zio Wuzi frets about the crowd, earning a rebuke from his master for talking too much. The master gestures toward an ornate pleasure barge, musing that a peerless beauty must be on board. The attendant spots Lord Jin on another boat and is shocked to realize his master, the emperor, is also present. Lord Jin issues orders to increase his brother's security detail, taking full responsibility for his safety at the event. The emperor greets his brother casually, and Lord Jin dispenses with the need for formal salutes. Lord Jin invites the emperor to join him on his more comfortable boat, an invitation which is readily accepted. Aboard the vessel, Lord Jin asks why his brother is traveling with so few guards. The emperor's man complains that he had to beg to come. Lord Jin reassures the worried attendant that he will arrange for his transport later. Lord Jin brings up the matter of the emperor's public affection for Miss Chu, pressing him about his marriage intentions. The emperor inwardly sneers at the thought of marrying the unclean Chu Ziqiao, resolving to prove her unworthiness today. At the dock, the Chu sisters are informed that while a patron has paid for Jiao boat, Ziqiao is not permitted to board. The boatman stands firm against their protests, stating that the century-old traditions of the event allow for no exceptions. From his vantage point, King Bingjian is briefed on the rules of the tour. He now understands the system. Passage is granted only to those talented ladies who attract a sponsor. He scoffs at Ziqiao's ambition. The emperor points Ziqiao out to Lord Jin, questioning how such a person could be considered for a royal marriage. Lord Jin feels the pressure. Jiao pushes Ziqiao away, mockingly urging her to go win Lord Jin's heart, as she had boasted she could. She continues her performance of sisterly encouragement, a display that Ziqiao finds both embarrassing and bewildering. A man in the crowd chimes in, publicly shaming Ziqiao for her poor reputation and for trying to drag her sister down with her. Another man steps forward, offering to sponsor Ziqiao. Jiao eagerly accepts on her behalf and departs, leaving Ziqiao to muse on the foolishness of men. Ziqiao sends Belle on an errand to fetch money, using a personal token as collateral. She dismisses her maid's concerns for her safety, confident in her own abilities, and dons a veil. Left alone, she frets about her lack of a spare outfit, worried her identity might be exposed. A mysterious boatman offers her a ride to the island, but she declines, stating she has no money for the fare. He proposes a deal. He will give her passage in exchange for a single favor. She agrees on the condition that the request is within her power, then impresses him by leaping onto the boat with incredible skill. He smiles, assuring her that the request is simple enough now that she is on his boat. His request is simple. He wishes to see her face when they disembark. He frames it as a minor demand for the service rendered. She agrees, so long as the request remains reasonable. Pleased, he offers her a gift in advance of their deal. The gift is a beautiful set of clothes, a perfect and timely solution to her previous predicament. She accepts the dress, and he promises he will not go back on his word. She retreats to the boat's cabin to change, and he watches her go, thinking the proud attire is a perfect match for her spirit. She emerges, transformed. He compliments his own excellent taste, noting how well the dress suits her. She presses him for his name, convinced he is no ordinary man, but he playfully deflects, claiming to be a nobody. She doesn't buy it, but he feigns a cough and announces their arrival is imminent. She insists he state his request before they part ways. He reveals that all he asks is that she wins first place in the competition. She is immediately suspicious. She wonders if he witnessed her earlier argument and questions how he could be so sure of her victory. He clarifies that winning in any category will fulfill his request, an answer she finds increasingly strange. He finally reveals his motivation is monetary. He simply wants half of the prize winnings. He leaps from the boat with a grace that reminds her of Liu Kingren, but she dismisses the thought. On the shore, people gossip about Lord Jin's magnificent boat, and whether the rumored object of his affection, Miss Chu, is with him. Jiao on a different boat, grows increasingly frustrated that she cannot get near Lord Jin's vessel. She urges her boatman to move closer, desperate to be seen, and invited aboard by the Lord. The Emperor continues to needle his brother, asking why he doesn't invite the woman he publicly desires. Lord Jin thinks that inviting her would make him a laughingstock. The ladies on the shore call out to Lord Jin, with Jiao putting on a particularly sweet and familiar display. Lord Jin looks down at her with contempt, disgusted with himself for ever being tempted by her. The mysterious boatman observes Ziqiao's disguise, asking if she bears a grudge against Lord Jin. She counters by asking about his own interest, noting how he stared at her earlier. She dismisses their tangled affairs as unimportant. He is impressed by her candor. She simply states that she lives by a code of not striking the first blow. She thanks him for the ride and the beautiful view. He watches her, captivated by her unburdened spirit. On the Emperor's barge, Lord Jin snaps at his attendant, Xiao Wuzi, for being lost in a daze. Startled from his thoughts, Xiao Wuzi panics and drops to his knees, begging for his life. The Emperor is perplexed by his dramatic reaction. The Emperor watches his brother, Lord Jin, reflecting on how deeply suspicious the man has become. The Emperor questions his servant's loyalty, accusing the kneeling Xiao Wuzi of having a divided heart. He wonders if the boy's distraction means he's secretly serving another master. The Emperor warns his servant that his fate will be decided at the palace, and that any disloyalty will be met with severe consequences. Xiao Wuzi trembles, professing his innocence and fear. As he walks away, the Emperor's suspicion grows, convinced he overheard a secret conversation. He feels a prickle of fear, realizing he is alone and potentially at his brother's mercy. He gently reminds her to be mindful of her appearance in public, given the crowd. She complies, privately grumbling about the tedious formalities of this era. The crowd parts as Lord Jin walks by, his presence causing a stir among the adoring local women who clamor for just a moment of his time. The women in the crowd observe Miss Chu's obvious crush on Lord Jin, with one remarking how unsurprising it is that another has also fallen for him. Enraged that Lord Jin overlooked her, the princess lashes out at the gossiping women. She furiously declares she will not tolerate their mockery. They observe Lord Jin from a distance, noting that Miss Chu is not with him. The woman muses that the princess would surely rush to his side if given the chance. He watches her, a realization dawning on him. Her behavior shows no signs of affection for Si Tu Miao. Perhaps she never liked him at all. A sudden burst of fireworks illuminates the night sky, startling her. He simply directs her gaze upward to the brilliant display. She stares in wonder, puzzled by the spectacle. Her historical knowledge classifies them as weapons, yet she can't recall them ever being used in war. He finds her reaction curious, but she admits their beauty is fleeting. She reflects that some ephemeral moments can leave an unforgettable mark, a thought that catches Liu Kingren's attention. The crowd's attention shifts as an announcement rings out, heralding the arrival of Lin Weiner, renowned as the most talented woman in the region. All eyes are on Lin Weiner as she takes the stage. The audience eagerly anticipates her poetry performance, expecting a show of remarkable skill. The masked woman expresses her admiration for Lin Weiner's courage in breaking her engagement, calling her a role model. Her companion seems to detect a hint of jealousy in her praise. She believes Lin Weiner's spirited nature is admirable and justifies her decision to end the marriage. In her view, the king has no right to hold it against her. He falls silent, a sudden apprehension striking him. He wonders if her pointed remarks mean she has somehow discovered who he truly is. From his vantage point, the Emperor spots the intriguing masked woman below. He turns to his brother, demanding to know her identity. His brother identifies the performer as Lin Weiner, the Prime Minister's talented daughter. He adds the recent gossip. She just broke her engagement with King Bingjian. The Emperor watches Liu Kingren, feeling a surge of possessiveness. He resolves that the woman he has set his sights on will be touched by no other man. He deduces that Liu Kingren's lack of a wife is because of Lin Weiner. Now that he has summoned him back, He decides to stir the pot and force his hand. A confident young master steps forward, eager to challenge the renowned Miss Lin. He offers to display his own humble talents against hers. He recites a rather clumsy poem about chrysanthemums, much to the amusement of the crowd. His attempt at flattery falls completely flat. Unfazed, Lin Weiner responds with a masterful poem of her own. Her words paint a vivid and poignant picture of an autumn chrysanthemum standing strong against the frost. The masked woman listens, conceding the poem is better than most, but questioning if it truly represents great talent. Miss Lin's reputation, it seems, precedes her actual skill. Intrigued by her critique, he makes her an offer. If she can compose a superior poem, he will grant her any one request within his power. She finds his persistence annoying, but accepts the challenge with confidence. A simple poem is a small price to pay for a favor. She recites a powerful verse, invoking images of golden armor and the resilience of flowers in autumn. He is genuinely impressed, acknowledging the quality of her poetry. He realizes his praise might have been misconstrued as a slight against her friend. He quickly clarifies, and she quietly accepts his implicit apology. Lin Weiner stands alone, lost in thought. She broke her engagement to find a husband of her own choosing, yet she remains disheartened by the lack of suitable men. She issues a challenge to her suitor. If he can write a poem that takes first place, she will grant him a private discussion in the pavilion. Lord Jin accepts the challenge, composing a poem that extols the virtues of a city's beauty. He concludes that between power and beauty, the latter will always reign supreme. Lin Weiner is taken aback by the brilliance of his verse, admitting she had misjudged him completely. She humbly concedes that his talent surpasses her own. Surprised by her hidden talent, he reaffirms his promise. She makes a simple request, that he see her home safely once the festivities conclude. The audience buzzes with gossip about Miss Lin's broken engagement. They consider it a pity for such a talented woman to marry a sickly man like King Bingjian. She silently fumes at the crowd's cruel gossip. Their casual insults towards the king are baseless and infuriatingly boring. He notices her foul mood and asks what's wrong. She dismisses his concern with a terse, irritable reply. He probes further, wondering if the man they mock is her friend. She recoils from his touch, sharply reminding him to keep his distance. He observes the meeting in the pavilion, noting the suitor's good mood. He finds it odd, however, that the voice doesn't belong to Lord Jin. He adjusts his hat in disbelief. The winner of the dance competition, whose grace was so captivating, was a man all along. She watches the stage with apprehension, knowing Chu Ziqiao's loss will likely result in her wrath. Meanwhile, the male dancer receives praise for his mesmerizing performance. The princess seethes with resentment. If she must suffer, then the loser she despises must suffer as well. She will not allow her to win the next competition. One woman worries about her absent sister, who had practiced tirelessly for the contest. Her companion is dismissive, questioning if such a self-centered sibling deserves any concern. A spectator's curiosity is piqued by the veiled woman in black. Her elegant temperament suggests she must be a great beauty, making the veil all the more intriguing. Consumed by jealousy, a noblewoman sneers at the attention the veiled figure receives. She decides to expose her, certain she's either a fraud or simply ugly. As the woman moves to confront them, the masked man cleverly blocks her path. He points her towards some blooming flowers, a polite but firm diversion that sends her off balance. The poet challenger rushes to help the stumbling Miss Chu. She is mortified, worried that Master Jin might have witnessed her embarrassing display. She pushes him away, ever mindful of propriety and her reputation. Despite her flustered state, she manages a polite thank you, ensuring he won't speak of the incident. The distraction over, the masked man directs his companion's attention back to the stage. The main event is about to begin. The masked woman notices a bamboo basket near the stage. She curiously asks her companion if it is for collecting rewards for the performers. She learns that spectators throw prizes into the basin to show support for their favorite musician. Thinking it a silly custom, she nevertheless proceeds to her own station. As she leaves, he reminds her of the promise she made. She reassures him that she has not forgotten their pact. Miss Chu watches her competitor with disdain. She sneers at the theatrics, convinced the veiled woman is a fraud who has someone else performing for her. She prepares to play, irritated by the constant underestimation from Miss Chu. The original owner of this body was bullied for her weakness, but things are different now. With unwavering confidence, Miss Chu locks her gaze on her rival. She is utterly convinced she will be the one to emerge victorious. As another contestant struggles with nerves, Miss Chu looks on with contempt. To her, this trembling competitor is nothing more than a clown. She addresses her rival with a condescending smile. If she is not capable of playing, she should not waste everyone's time pretending. A voice from the crowd encourages Miss Chu to play, eager to hear her supposedly unique music. The veiled performer remains silent, observing the unfolding drama. Her melody fills the air, so heavenly that it captivates the entire audience. One man is so moved he vows to give all his prizes to this masterful lady. The performance earns her an immediate admirer, who calls out an invitation for a private boat ride. Her companion begins to regret bringing her to such a public event. Humbled by the performance, the other contestants concede defeat one by one. They openly admit that the veiled woman's skill is unparalleled. The man, Ziqiao, formally addresses the victor. He expresses his deep admiration for her talent and asks for the honor of knowing her name. She meets his gaze, a slight smile on her lips. She reveals her identity with two simple words, Chu Ziqiao. A wave of disbelief washes over the crowd. They murmur amongst themselves, unable to reconcile the legendary loser, Chu Ziqiao, with the virtuoso before them. Her rival is frozen in shock and denial. The idea that this talented musician is the pathetic Chu Ziqiao is simply impossible. He is surprised to learn her true identity, but acknowledges her victory was well-deserved. He offers her the basket of prizes, stating it's better to win than to lose. He reflects on her circumstances, realizing she wore no accessories and seemed to own very little. This was merely an excuse to give her the money she clearly needs. She accepts the gift and bids him farewell, leaving him standing by the water. He watches her go, surprised by how quickly their encounter ended. Back in her room, she examines the basket filled with gold, silver, and precious trinkets. All of it was left for her. As she enters the courtyard, a waiting maid rushes to greet her. The young miss has finally returned. She hands a bundle to her maid. Now that she is back, she needs to know if the task she assigned was completed successfully. The maid smiles, confirming that everything her miss asked for has been taken care of without a hitch. She smiles with satisfaction, pleased that her own evening went smoothly. She can only imagine the foul mood Chu Ziqiao must be in after tonight's events. Ziqiao gently reminds the emperor of the late hour, questioning if he truly intends to attend to state affairs now. His words bring the emperor to a halt. The emperor turns on his servant, accusing him of overstepping his bounds and trying to meddle in imperial matters. Ziqiao immediately falls to his knees, terrified. His tone softens, but his gaze remains intense. He asks Ziqiao to name a single time when he, the emperor, has ever treated him unjustly. The servant shakes with fear, vehemently denying any mistreatment. He insists the emperor has never wronged him in any way. The emperor's true grievance is revealed. He wants to know why his servant is so familiar with Lord Jin. Ziqiao desperately proclaims his unwavering loyalty to the throne. The emperor's expression hardens. He reveals his suspicion is not baseless. He heard every word the servant spoke to Lord Jin earlier today. His patience exhausted, the emperor declares his servant a traitor. With a final, dismissive gesture, he orders the boy to be dragged to jail. The emperor contemplates Lin Weiner's value. While her pride is an obstacle, her talent is undeniable, and having her in his harem would be a great asset. He formulates a plan. To win Lin Weiner, he must first arrange a marriage for King Bingjian. Chu Ziqiao's infatuation with his brother makes her the ideal candidate for his scheme. He paces, the pieces of his plan falling into place. The names of his pawns echo in the quiet room, each a key to his ultimate goal. A sinister smile spreads across his face. His plan is perfect, a brilliant stroke that will solve multiple problems at once. The next morning, a frantic maid runs through the courtyard. She cries out for the big miss, shouting that something terrible has happened. The commotion draws out another servant who scolds the girl for being so loud. But the girl's panic is real. She stammers that the first madam has collapsed. Stirred by the noise, Chu Ziqiao emerges from her room. She calmly asks her maid Lingdang to explain the reason for the chaos. With tears in her eyes, Lingdang delivers the dreadful news. Her Mrs. Mother has fainted. A girl rushes toward her mother, crying out in alarm. The older woman chides her for the unseemly display, reminding her that she represents the face of the entire mansion. Jiaoer asks if the rumors are true, that a marriage decree arrived from the palace, causing the first madam to faint. Her mother's smile is confirmation. their suffering is over. She reveals the emperor's decree. Jiaor is to marry Lord Jin, while the useless Chu Ziqiao is now betrothed to the sickly King Bingjian. Jiaor smirks with malicious glee. A waist paired with a sickly man in her eyes, it is a truly perfect and amusing match. Holding the imperial decree, Liu Kingren feels a strange sense of anticipation. The thought of Chu Ziqiao becoming his princess is unexpectedly appealing. She stands over her mother's unconscious form, a wave of fear washing over her. Since arriving in this world, her mother has been the only one who truly loved her. She turns to the doctor, her voice sharp with worry, and demands to know what has happened to her mother. The physician seems hesitant to speak. Impatient, she demands the truth. The doctor finally reveals the horrifying diagnosis. Her mother is not ill, she has been poisoned. Taking control, Chu Ziqiao issues a firm order to her maid. The courtyard is to be sealed. No one enters or leaves. She turns back to the doctor, her mind racing. If he recognized it as poison, he must know what kind it is, and more importantly, if there is a cure. The doctor delivers a grim prognosis. He recognizes the rare poison, which induces a coma and kills its victim within 7 days. There is no known antidote. The news hits her like a physical blow, and she stumbles. Is her mother truly beyond saving? A flicker of hope emerges from her despair. Perhaps if they can find the person who administered the poison, they might also have the cure. The doctor dashes her hopes, explaining that for such a rare toxin, even the poisoner is unlikely to possess an antidote. She dismisses him with a stern warning of silence. To underscore her threat, she shatters a teacup in her hand. The doctor and the maid, terrified by her cold fury, promise their silence and quickly depart. She begins her investigation, questioning her mother's personal servant. The maid insists that all the lady's food is prepared exclusively in her own small, private kitchen. The servant then remembers an exception. Last night, the master brought a box of assorted cakes as a gift, but they were left untouched by the staff. A servant outside spots the master of the house approaching. He has come to visit his ailing wife. The general arrives with his concubine, questioning the activity in the courtyard. He sternly asks for an update on the first lady's condition. Chu Ziqiao steps forward to block their path. She explains that she gave the order to keep everyone out, to ensure her mother could rest peacefully. The concubine leans on the general, feigning shock and concern over the lady's sudden illness. The general admits that he, too, is afraid. She offers him comfort, reminding him that he is the master of the house. With him here, everything will surely be all right. Chu Ziqiao watches them, her eyes narrowing with contempt. Her aunt is always taking credit, and if she finds proof she's behind this, there will be hell to pay. She addresses her father and his companion coolly. Her mother is sleeping, but she is sure the lady would have appreciated the gesture of his visit. Since the lady is resting, the general decides it's best not to disturb her. He turns to leave with his concubine clinging to his arm. As they walk away, a bitter, sarcastic smile touches her lips. Her father's devotion to her mother is truly touching. Her father catches her sarcastic tone and explodes with rage. He points a finger at her, furiously demanding that she kneel at once. She remains defiant, refusing to back down. She challenges him directly, asking if she spoke anything but the truth. He didn't even try to see his dying wife. He is appalled by her insolence. He scolds her for her disrespectful behavior and for daring to talk back to her own father. She openly declares her suspicion, identifying them as the prime suspects. While her mother lies dying, he dares to parade his concubine around. The concubine quickly plays the victim, pleading with the general to calm down. She offers to go home if her presence is so upsetting to the young miss. As the concubine accuses her of being unfilial, Chu Ziqiao delivers her trump card. Her mother is not sick. She has been poisoned. The accusation hangs in the air, stunning the general into silence. Poisoned. She presses her advantage, revealing her mother fell ill after eating the dessert he sent. He erupts in fury, outraged that she would dare suspect her own father. She clarifies her accusation. While she doesn't suspect him, she certainly suspects those close to him. The concubine inwardly sighs with relief, confident no proof will be found. The concubine quickly deflects, suggesting this is an attack on the family's newfound favor with the emperor. If they can harm the madam today, they might target the master tomorrow. Her father decides to get to the bottom of the poisoning, but first reveals the news that caused her mother's collapse. She has been betrothed to King Bingjian. With a final warning to behave and not bring shame upon the family, he turns his back on her and walks away. He orders his guards to escort her back to her courtyard. He then commands them to gather every servant for interrogation. She confides in her maid, certain her aunt is the culprit. Her father would not do this, but the concubine's nervous behavior was a dead giveaway. With grim determination, she decides on her next move. She will infiltrate her aunt's quarters tonight to find the proof she needs. Her maid frets, holding the clothes. With the lady of the house unconscious and a marriage decreed by the emperor, their situation seems dire. She considers her options. Marrying the reliable Liu Kingren is a far better fate than Lord Jin. Perhaps she can even convince him that a fake marriage would be mutually beneficial. She reaffirms her theory to her maid. The concubine's nervousness betrayed her guilt, and the evidence must still be hidden somewhere in the house. She steels her resolve, determined to find the truth. She instructs her maid to prepare her night clothes for a clandestine investigation. Her maid voices her anxieties. With her mother incapacitated, the imperial marriage decree looms over them, leaving them in a vulnerable position. She weighs her options, realizing Liu Kingren is a much more dependable choice than Lord Jin. An idea forms. Perhaps she can propose a marriage of convenience. His attendant questions the decision to send his only life-saving medicine to Miss Chu. Is she truly worth such a sacrifice? He turns a cold gaze on his attendant. He asks if his orders are no longer being followed, his soft voice carrying an unmistakable threat. Despite his master's tone, the attendant cannot help but voice his concern. He worries for his master's well-being and questions if Miss Chu is truly worthy of this risk. His decision is final, his voice calm but absolute. If he deems her worthy, then she is. Under the cover of darkness, he perches in a tree, his eyes fixed on the sprawling general's mansion below. He reflects on the strange coincidence of their frequent encounters here. He watches her figure move in the darkness, wondering what mission she is on tonight. Moving silently across the rooftops, she is driven by a single conviction. Her Aunt May is responsible for her mother's poisoning. The concubine tries to entice the physician, but he informs her that the master already left her courtyard and departed in a hurry. From her hiding spot on the roof, Ziqiao listens to their conversation. The nature of their exchange leads her to a shocking conclusion. Her aunt is having an affair. She promises her lover that once their plan succeeds, and she is the master's official wife, his every desire will be fulfilled. He seeks reassurance, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He needs to know for certain that the poison she used is truly incurable. She smirks, boasting of the poison's quality. It was an expensive acquisition from the black market, guaranteed to be potent, untraceable, and without a cure. Overhearing their words, Ziqiao's heart sinks. The confirmation that there is no cure sends a wave of despair and rage through her. She retreats to the water's edge, crushed by the weight of her discovery. Unseen, Liu Kingren watches over her, a silent guardian in the night. She feels utterly alone. In this world, her mother was the only person who showed her kindness, a stark contrast to her lonely past. He decides he can stay hidden no longer and approaches her, calling her name softly. She looks up, startled by his sudden appearance. He feels an instinct to protect this strong but vulnerable girl. He explains his presence, admitting he heard about her mother and came because he was worried. In her sleep, she is tormented by nightmares, crying out for her mother and begging her not to leave. Jiaor bursts into her mother's chambers, unable to contain her excitement. She eagerly asks if her mother has heard the wonderful news. Her mother chides her for the early morning disturbance, but Jiaor's news is momentous. The first madam is dead. Jiaor beams, ecstatic that her mother will finally become the official wife. The news is exactly what her mother has been waiting for. A memory of her mother's affair flashes through Jiaor's mind. She realizes aligning with her mother is the most advantageous path forward. Her mother, smiling smugly, urges her daughter to go and share the news with her father. Jiaor approaches her father, putting on a show of grief. She falters, struggling to deliver the news about her sister. The general embraces his concubine, his grief seemingly short-lived. He tells her that with the first madam gone, she will now be in charge of the household. Ziqiao erupts in fury. Her mother is barely gone, and her father is already planning to elevate his concubine. She questions what right that woman has to the title of mistress. He dismisses her anger, calling her a rebellious child. He asserts his authority, declaring that his decision is final and Mayor will be the new madam. With a chilling smile, Ziqiao feigns gratitude. She then describes, in precise detail, the effects of the rare plum incense poison that killed her mother. She turns her cold gaze to the concubine. Do any of those symptoms sound familiar to her? Aunt May can only stare back, her face a mask of terror. Ziqiao presents the final piece of evidence, the vial of poison she found in the concubine's room. She demands to know what her aunt has to say for herself. Her father again calls her rebellious, while his mistress pleads her innocence, claiming she's been framed. Ziqiao realizes there is no justice here and vows to take it herself. The concubine recoils in terror, stammering to the master that the big young lady has lost her mind and intends to kill her. Her father's shock turns to a new kind of anger. He realizes his daughter has been secretly practicing martial arts right under his nose. She scoffs at his accusation. Why would she hide it? It's not as if he ever showed the slightest interest in her life or her training. Enraged by her defiance, he decides to teach her a lesson. He lunges forward, ready to test the skills she has hidden from him. He is stunned by her strength. Even at half his power, he barely moved her. He suspects she has obtained some powerful and secret martial arts training. Jiao rushes to her fallen mother's side, wailing for her father to kill Ziqiao and avenge this treachery. The general, unwilling to kill his own daughter, orders both girls to be sent to their rooms. They are to be confined until he decides their fate. Jiao sits alone, consumed by hatred. Her father failed to kill the bitch, but she swears an oath that one day, she will do it herself. Ziqiao stumbles, wounded from the fight. She reassures her worried maid that she is fine, but needs to be alone to tend to her injuries. As her lady meditates to heal, the maid makes a silent vow to the spirit of the former madam. From this day forward, she will protect the young miss with her life. Her two maids stand before her, their faces etched with worry. They look to their mistress for guidance, asking what their next move should be. Her maids offer a glimmer of hope. The marriage to the king will protect her. But Ziqiao is not ready to consider that option yet. After a moment of contemplation, her despair is replaced by resolve. She looks at her loyal maids and announces her decision. They are going to escape. Her maids are scared, reminding her that the master has placed guards everywhere. But Ziqiao is undeterred. She already has a plan. The following day breaks, but the peace is shattered by a single, panicked shout echoing through the estate. The maid delivers the alarming news. The young lady has vanished. The head guard immediately orders a search. The guards scatter in a flurry of organized chaos. They split into teams to cover more ground, determined to find the missing miss. When the news reaches the general, he is livid. He roars at his subordinate, demanding they find his daughter at once. He spots a fleeing figure on the roof and points, ordering his men to give chase. The escapee sees the swarm of guards below and wonders if they can make it out. The figure disappears from sight, leaving the guards confused. They rush onward, searching frantically for any sign of their quarry. Meanwhile, two maids attempt to leave through a side gate, only to be stopped by a servant loyal to the new mistress. She reminds them of their place. The maids plead their case, offering a small bribe. They argue that they are insignificant, and the master would surely not care if two lowly maids were to leave. Their plea, and perhaps the bribe, works. The servant steps aside and allows them to pass through the gate. Hiding in an alcove, the decoy watches the guards run past. The first part of the plan has worked. The guards are now chasing them. The maid removes her disguise, her part in the diversion complete. She can only hope that her mistress and the others have made it out safely. The search continues with renewed fervor. The guards split their forces, determined not to let the escapee slip through their grasp. Disguised and almost free, Ziqiao and her maid breathe a sigh of relief. They are just moments away from escaping the compound. Their escape is cut short by the sudden appearance of her father. He congratulates her on her clever strategy, his voice dripping with condescending praise. She asks how he saw through her ruse. He explains the flaws in her plan. The daytime disguise was foolish, and Lingdang's martial arts are far too weak to be mistaken for hers. Trapped, she clenches her fist. She weighs her options, wondering if she can fight her way out of this. He delivers his final, devastating blow. He asks if she intends to abandon her mother's body, to leave before she has even been properly buried. Outside the gate, the other maid waits anxiously. She can't wait much longer, and her miss is still not here. He sees her hesitation and makes an offer. If she gives him the secrets to her martial arts, he will allow her a grand funeral for her mother and grant her freedom. He presents the alternative. He will brand her the murderer of Aunt May. Her reputation will be ruined, her marriage forfeit, and her life in jeopardy. She insists she has no secrets, but she knows it's a lie he won't believe. She also knows that in a direct confrontation, she is no match for him. Just as her father prepares to strike, their standoff is interrupted. A guard announces the arrival of the Bingjian king. Kingren arrives with his entourage, announcing he has come for his betrothed. Ziqiao is relieved, but her father internally panics, knowing this will allow her to escape with her secrets. The pieces fall into place, and she understands his cruelty. She declares she no longer needs to remain in this house of horrors. She snatches the imperial decree from her father's hand. As the general lunges, Kingren steps in, questioning why he would attack his future wife. The general tries to assert his authority, claiming this is a private family matter. The king has no right to interfere before the marriage is official. Kingren deftly counters, suggesting the emperor would be pleased to see the betrothed couple getting along so well. The general is left speechless. With a snap of his fingers, he produces the final witness, the man who sold the poison. The evidence is now complete, proving Aunt May's guilt and justifying her death. He adds a subtle threat. If the general continues to press the issue, the entire city will soon hear the sordid details of his household. He delivers the final, cutting insult, branding Chu Banshan a man who favors a concubine over his true wife. The general's face contorts with helpless rage. He advises the general to give his wife a proper burial to salvage what little dignity he has left. All the general can do is point, sputtering with impotent fury. He stands protectively beside Ziqiao, making his position clear. She is his future wife, and any harm that befalls her will be answered by him. In a final act of spite, her father disowns her. If she walks out that door, she is never to return and will no longer be his daughter. She coolly retorts that he ceased to be her father the moment he betrayed her mother. As she leaves with her new protector, even the general has to admit she chose her husband well. In their new, peaceful residence, the servants bicker good-naturedly. One insists their lady prefers pastries, while the other is certain she favors herbal tea. Their friendly competition escalates into a race. Both are determined to be the first to present their offering to their mistress. From her seat, she puts an end to their squabble with a simple command. They can stop arguing and bring their offerings together. Her hand rests gently on the instrument they brought. She is grateful they managed to bring her mother's zither with them. He appears at her side, his voice soft. He wonders if he might be fortunate enough to hear a private performance from the famed musician. The moment between them grows intimate as he leans closer. But before anything can happen, his attendant rushes in with urgent news. The attendant freezes, instantly realizing he has interrupted a private moment. He looks between his master and the blushing Miss Chu, feeling deeply awkward. He delivers his message. The Crown Prince of Gulen has arrived in the capital. The emperor is holding a banquet, and their attendance is mandatory. They discuss the political situation. A marriage alliance may be the emperor's goal, but both agree it is a fragile solution to the tenuous peace between the three kingdoms. The attendant is impressed by her sharp political insight, finally understanding his master's deep respect for her. Her maid, however, is less than pleased with his eavesdropping. The maid yanks the attendant's ear, chiding him for his inappropriate comments. Her lady's vision is not for him to praise so casually. He apologizes for his mistake, and she instructs them all to prepare for the evening's banquet. She is keen to see what this foreign prince is planning. The attendant voices his concern for his master's health, as his supply of medicine has run out. Kingren waves it off, stating that his chronic illness is not something to be fussed over. She emerges, beautifully dressed for the banquet. He looks at her with pride, thinking of her as his future wife, and they agree it is time to depart. As they enter the grand hall, their arrival is announced. The Bingjian king and Miss Chu have come. The court attendees immediately begin to whisper. They note that she has already moved into the king's residence, assuming their relationship has progressed far beyond mere betrothal. Chu Ziqiao listens in disbelief, unable to comprehend what she's hearing. The whispers around her are filled with mockery, and she finds the entire situation absurd. Her disbelief turns into a burning desire. She focuses on her ultimate goal, marrying Lord Jin, and she wants it to happen immediately. Jiaor approaches Lord Jin with familiarity, but he coldly rebuffs her advances. From afar, Ziqiao observes with contempt, wondering how the emperor could ever consider such a woman. Jiaor rationalizes her entitlement, believing her status as the general's legitimate daughter gives her an undeniable claim. How could Lord Jin possibly refuse her now? Ziqiao notices Kingren's unwell state and expresses her concern. He dismisses it as a recurring ailment, trying to reassure her. He feels a warmth from her attention, playfully questioning if her concern runs deep. Ziqiao asserts her right to be concerned, reminding him of their betrothal. It's only natural for her to care. Lord Jin watches them, his thoughts possessive and bitter. As long as their original marriage arrangement stands, he believes Chu Ziqiao is rightfully his. He takes a sip, inwardly denying the possessive thoughts that just crossed his mind, trying to maintain a composed exterior. Jayor's anxiety grows as Lord Jin's indifference becomes more apparent. Just as she worries about the arrival of Miss Lin Wanner is announced. As Lin Wanner enters, she analyzes the political situation. She connects the recent marriages and deduces the emperor's true intention is to bring her into his own palace. Jayor watches the emperor's subtle reaction and recalls the garden party. She suspects he has developed feelings for Lin Wanner. A surge of rage consumes Jayor. The position of Lord Jin's wife is hers and hers alone, a truth she will not let anyone challenge. With everyone gathered, the emperor formally commences the proceedings. Lin Wanner connects the dots, realizing the magnanimous child of Huang is none other than the emperor himself. It all makes perfect sense now. Lord Jin addresses his brother, the emperor, suggesting they put Miss Lin's renowned poetic talents on display for the court. Eager to insert her family into the spotlight, Jayor proposes that her own sister, Ziqiao, is just as skilled in poetry as the celebrated Miss Lin. The emperor perceives this as a petty attempt to sideline Wanner and grows inwardly furious. He looks forward to the potential embarrassment of the Bingjian king's family. The emperor publicly questions Ziqiao's rumored lack of literary interest. He puts her on the spot, implying that a false claim would be a grave offense. Panic seizes Jayor as she realizes her terrible oversight. How could she have forgotten such a critical fact? Seeing her sister's predicament, Ziqiao decides to intervene. She will recite a poem, if only to end this pathetic display. Ziqiao stands and begins her recitation, her words painting a vivid picture of longing and the inseparable nature of true hearts. Lin Wanner is genuinely impressed, openly praising the unexpected talent of the Bingjian king's wife. The emperor acknowledges the quality of the poem and graciously offers a reward for the performance. Ziqiao subtly communicates to Kingren that her performance was an act of necessity, not a desire for attention. Kingren is once again struck by her hidden depths. The more he learns about Ziqiao, the more mysterious and intriguing she becomes. A visiting prince from Guilan makes his entrance, complimenting the emperor on the wonderful women of Yeahui. The Guilan prince, with a confident smile, suggests a friendly competition to compare the poetic styles of their two nations. The emperor enthusiastically accepts the challenge, commanding Chu Ziqiao to represent their kingdom. He sees this as a perfect opportunity to impress Lin Wanner. The prince proposes the theme for the competition. The challenge will be to compose a poem incorporating numbers. Ziqiao turns to Kingren, requesting that he act as her scribe. He readily agrees to assist her. Before she begins, Ziqiao offers a silent apology to the poets of her past life, whose work she is about to claim as her own. With fierce determination, Ziqiao recites a powerful poem filled with patriotic fervor, lamenting that fame and merits turn to dust, and youth is fleeting. Kingren watches her, captivated. He had no idea a girl like Ziqiao could compose poetry with such heroic spirit. The Guilan prince concedes her immense talent and challenges his own entourage to respond to such a powerful piece. A representative from Guilan humbly admits defeat, acknowledging that the lady's poetic attainments are far beyond their own. The emperor intervenes, downplaying Ziqiao's victory and suggesting the competition continue between the prince and Lin Wanner, the capital's foremost talent. Lin Wanner questions the emperor's motives, but gracefully accepts the challenge, ready to demonstrate her own skills. The prince declares the next round's theme. This time, the poems must be about animals. Ziqiao recalls how Lin Wanner abandoned Kingren. Despite this, she feels a moment of pity and decides to offer her a helping hand. A spitball suddenly lands near Lin Wanner, a silent message from an unexpected source. She wonders why Chu Ziqiao, now the Bingjian king's wife, would try to provoke her. Unfurling the paper, Lin Wanner is stunned to find a perfectly crafted poem. She can't fathom why Chu Ziqiao would offer her such assistance. The emperor, noticing her hesitation, begins to feel a pang of regret. He wonders if he pushed her too hard and hopes she doesn't resent him for it. Composing herself, Lin Wanner stands and recites the beautiful poem, painting a serene landscape of singing orioles and flying egrets. The Guilan prince once again challenges his men to respond, but they are met with stunned silence, unable to match the poem's elegance. The emperor gracefully concludes the event, declaring it a pleasant exchange rather than a formal contest. The Prince of Guilan, outmatched, can only admire his host's diplomacy. A young woman named Yuuru rushes in, apologizing to the emperor for her tardiness due to some delay at home. After being welcomed by the emperor, Yuuru heads straight for Kingren, questioning why he's been out of touch for so long. She urges Kingren to distance himself from the Chu family, disparaging the general, his concubine, and both daughters. Kingren's expression hardens. He firmly rebukes Infanta Yuuru, reminding her that Ziqiao is his betrothed and not to be insulted. Yuuru confronts Ziqiao directly, questioning her engagement to Kingren when she was originally betrothed to her own brother. Ziqiao calmly deflects the question, stating the marriage was an imperial decree and any complaints should be taken to the emperor himself. Yuuru laments the arrangement. Officially, Yuuru announces from his Laments the Throne that the wedding between Ziqiao and the Bingjian king is imminent. Chu Ziqiao slyly approaches the Infanta, attempting to form an alliance based on their shared disdain for Ziqiao's marriage. Yuuru turns on Chu Ziqiao with surprising ferocity, dismissing her completely and calling her even more worthless than her sister. Ziqiao is amused by the Infanta's blunt nature. Meanwhile, the others are bewildered, unable to understand why Yuuru, who supposedly likes the Bingjian king, would defend her rival. The Infanta clarifies her position. Neither Chu sister is worthy of Kingren. She insists that Ziqiao should follow her brother's lead and withdraw from her own engagement. Kingren firmly intervenes once more. He declares his complete satisfaction with his royally appointed wife and warns the Infanta to stop meddling. The Infanta is heartbroken by his words. Ziqiao, however, is taken aback by his unexpected and public declaration of contentment. When Yuuru stubbornly refuses to move, Kingren's patience wears thin. He coldly reminds her of their audience, questioning if she means to disgrace their nation. Ziqiao pats the fuming Infanta's arm, gently and perhaps a bit cheekily encouraging her to calm down at her own pace. As they leave, Ziqiao thinks how dull the event was. Seeing her mood, Kingren offers to ensure she doesn't have to attend future banquets if she dislikes them. She looks at him with a hint of a smile, teasingly asking just how far his protection will extend. He meets her gaze with unwavering sincerity, confirming his willingness to shield her from any displeasure. As they walk, a sudden chill runs down Ziqiao's spine. She senses a murderous aura emanating from a nearby maid. Ziqiao realizes with a jolt that this is Hueki, the very maid Kingren assigned to her. The intent to kill is unmistakable, but the motive is a complete mystery. In a surprising move, Ziqiao loudly praises the maid's attentiveness, leaving Kingren completely baffled by her strange behavior. The maid observes the lord's gentle concern for Miss Chu, noting his kindness, but misinterpreting Ziqiao's nature as frail. Ziqiao's gaze sharpens as she addresses the maid, questioning why a mere servant is so deeply concerned with the master's affairs. Understanding the situation, Kingren's expression turns severe. He orders the maid, Hueki, to return home at once and await her punishment. As servants apprehend the defiant maid, Kingren turns to Ziqiao, attempting to soothe any hurt feelings her words may have caused. Ziqiao waves off his concern for her own focus shifting to his persistent cough. His frail health seems a far more serious matter. He smiles, admiring her generous spirit. He correctly intuits that her visit had a purpose beyond simply seeing him. She confronts him directly about his health, stating that with everything going on, she fears his body can no longer bear the strain of his secrets. He concedes, agreeing they must speak of serious matters. The political implications of Prince Gyulin's marriage proposal could stop the war, a detail he should have discussed with her. Ziqiao acknowledges the emperor's desire for peace, but she sees the truth. A single marriage will not quell the Gyulin's ambition. Any truce would be temporary and fragile. He is stunned by her sharp political insight. She understands the delicate balance of power between the three kingdoms better than even his own court officials. She voices her frustration at being chosen. He shares her anger, furious that the prince would dare make such a public proposal for a woman already betrothed. With cold clarity, Ziqiao surmises that the emperor's actions are born of fear, showing he's willing to use her as a pawn for the sake of a fragile peace. Her expression softens with genuine concern. Looking at Kingren, she admits her fear that this political maneuvering will ultimately harm him. He takes her hand, swearing he is man enough to protect his own woman. Their private moment is shattered by a sudden round of applause from the doorway. Yuuru saunters in, cheerfully announcing her arrival to visit them both. Kingren cuts to the chase, knowing the Infanta never does anything without a reason. He demands to know the true purpose of her visit. With a surprising show of humility, Yuru admits her previous judgment of Ziqiao was wrong and offers a sincere apology for her rudeness. She asks for permission to address Ziqiao more informally. Ziqiao accepts, acknowledging that it couldn't have been easy for a royal infanta to maintain such a temper. Alone, Lord Jin contemplates a small pouch. It's a gift from Chu Ziqiao from long ago, and he can't understand why he hasn't thrown it away. He examines the pouch, noting the stark contrast between the clumsy embroidery and her excellent calligraphy. The contradiction only deepens his curiosity about her. A servant reports that Chu Ziqiao is at the gate demanding an audience. Annoyed, Lord Jin instructs the servant to send her away. The servant returns in a panic, reporting that the lady is causing a scene at the door and refuses to be dismissed. Incensed by her gall, Lord Jin decides to deal with the disturbance himself. At the gate, Chu Ziqiao is asserting her authority, physically abusing the servants who dared to block her path. Despite her aggression, one loyal servant stands firm, vowing he will maintain his lord's privacy even under threat of death. Lord Jin's arrival brings the chaos to a halt. The servants are relieved, while Ziqiao cries out his name. A look of triumph crosses her face. She knew he was home, and now she will demand he deliver justice on her behalf. His expression is pure dislike. He coldly informs her that the servants were acting on his direct orders, as he had no desire to see any strangers. She stands in stunned silence, unable to process that he was the one who rejected her. He asks her business. She presents the tonic soup she cooked all day, explaining she wanted to bring it to him while it was still hot. He dismisses her gift with contempt, questioning whether she believes his own household is incapable of preparing such a simple thing. Her face falls, hurt by his interpretation. She tries to explain that the soup was a personal gesture of her care for him. He curtly accepts the soup, but makes it clear her presence is no longer welcome, telling a servant to take it and ordering her to leave. Defeated, she turns to leave, offering a quiet farewell and a wish for his well-being. Once she is gone, he instructs his servant to dispose of the soup, having no intention of consuming it. In another residence, General Chu discusses his daughter's skills with a subordinate, who confirms Ziqiao's internal force is profound and her potential is limitless. The general considers this new information. Since his daughter's body was never suited for conventional martial arts, her current power must come from an extraordinary source. The general becomes determined to reclaim his daughter and the treasure she must be hiding. His subordinate announces that he has a plan. A frantic maid rushes into Ziqiao's room, startling her. Ziqiao calms her down and asks what has happened. The distraught maid explains that a terrible event has occurred and presents a letter for her to read. The note is short and alarming. Lingdang has been taken, and the lady is expected to return to the general's house as soon as possible. Ziqiao is unimpressed by the crude tactic. She resolves to go to the general's mansion herself, dismissing her maid's suggestion to involve the Bingjian king. She declares that Lingdang is her responsibility. If she cannot protect her own, she is not worthy of being a master. Danking is touched by her mistress's fierce loyalty, feeling grateful that the king assigned her to serve such a good person. Ziqiao sets a clear contingency plan. She forbids her maid from coming, but instructs her to seek help from Kingren if she fails to return within 3 hours. As she walks out, she makes a silent vow. Her father, Chu Banshan, had better have kept Lingdang unharmed. A furious declaration fills her mind. If they've harmed her friend, she will bring ruin upon the entire general's household. In another part of the city, a servant reports on Ziqiao's recent quiet activities, noting she has not left the house much. An imperial eunuch arrives at the Bingjian king's residence, bearing an official edict from the emperor summoning him to the palace. Kingren, with a hand to his chest as if suppressing a cough, formally accepts the imperial summons. In a discreet exchange, Kingren seeks information from the eunuch, who confirms his suspicion that the summons relates to the matter of Crown Prince Gyulen. As the eunuch departs, Kingren is consumed by worry. Ziqiao has become a political pawn, and he knows many eyes are now watching her. He must protect her. His aide questions his next move, outlining the impossible choice: refuse and be seen as a rebel, or go and be forced to give up Ziqiao. Kingren calmly reveals that this is no surprise. He has anticipated this move from the emperor and has been preparing for it. He presents a jade pendant, a special token given to him by the former emperor. He lays out his plan. Once he enters the palace, his subordinate is to use the jade pendant to mobilize the city garrison, starting from the Bingjian house. Arriving at the palace, Kingren puts on a display of weakness, explaining to the emperor that a sudden cold prevents him from offering a proper bow. The emperor expresses superficial concern, reminding Kingren of his duty to stay healthy as the sole heir of his line. As the emperor begins to discuss the urgent matter of the war, a commotion from outside the study interrupts their conversation. An agitated eunuch rushes in to report the disturbance. Someone forced their way past the guards using a jade pendant from the late emperor. The emperor is stunned by the news, questioning the report of a jade pendant from his predecessor. Kingren calmly asks for a description of the intruder, and his aide, playing his part, confirms it is a young man. Kingren explains this must be a messenger he sent with the jade for emergencies. The emperor, seeing no other choice, permits the man to enter. The messenger falls to his knees, delivering the fabricated news of a massive bandit uprising in the Bingjian king's fiefdom. Kingren seizes the opportunity, arguing that this is a matter of national honor and requests leave to return and defend his lands. The emperor reluctantly grants his permission. He departs with a show of confidence, proclaiming that if he cannot handle mere bandits, he is not worthy of his title. Suspicious, the emperor immediately orders a subordinate to verify the claims of unrest in the Bingjian king's territory. Meanwhile, Ziqiao has followed a trail to a dilapidated corner of the general's estate. She calls out for her captured maid. A voice calls back from behind a locked door. It's Lingdang, overjoyed and relieved that her lady has found her. Ziqiao reassures her friend, but Lingdang warns that the lock is no ordinary mechanism and cannot be easily broken. Unfazed, Ziqiao borrows a hairpin from Lingdang, confident that there isn't a lock in the world she can't open. She remembers her previous life, where she was specifically trained by her master to overcome all kinds of advanced locks. The lock clicks open, much to Lingdang's astonishment. Ziqiao hands the impressive lock to her, suggesting it might be useful later. With her maid freed, Ziqiao's expression hardens. The time for games is over. A man's voice cuts through the air, acknowledging her arrival with an air of anticipation. They turn to face the man. Lingdang confirms to her mistress that he is the one who imprisoned her and warned her not to escape. A predatory smile touches Ziqiao's lips. How convenient that the very people she sought for revenge have delivered themselves to her. The man observes her, noting a significant change in her demeanor. He decides this is the perfect opportunity to find out what she's truly made of. Ziqiao instructs her maid to step aside and wait. Lingdang, worried, urges her to be cautious against the unknown old man. Ziqiao gives the man a choice: get out of her way or face the consequences. He counters with an offer: he will let her live if she surrenders the secrets of her martial arts. She laughs at his audacity, telling him he's thinking too highly of himself and should measure his own capabilities first. In a flash, she closes the distance between them. The man is stunned by her speed, realizing her next move is coming. Before he can react, her palm strikes his chest with a powerful blow. The man stumbles back, reeling. He is shocked that a single strike from her hand could penetrate so deeply into his internal force. Ziqiao calmly turns to her maid and asks for the lock she had taken from the door earlier. She dangles the prospect of her skills before him, daring him to catch her if he wants to learn her secrets. Seeing his hesitation, she taunts him further, telling him not to test her patience before she turns and flees into a nearby building. She lures him into the very cell where Lingdang was held, then quickly turns and slams the door shut. He finds himself imprisoned. Unconcerned, he reaches for the key, mocking her attempt to trap him. From the other side of the bars, she reveals the key. She had lifted it from him during their brief encounter without him ever noticing. Trapped and humiliated, the man can only issue threats, warning her that she will pay for this one day. His threats are meaningless to her. She informs him that letting him out is out of the question, but she will spare his life. She tells her maid that she has given the man a taste of his own medicine. She instructs Lingdang to return to the Bingjian house while she attends to other matters. The emperor's subordinate reports back, confirming the news of rampant thieves in the king's fiefdom. The emperor mulls over this information, now believing he understands the reason for Kingren's hasty departure. The subordinate makes a veiled suggestion. Since the king is already ill and now facing bandits, His Majesty should be prepared for any unfortunate accidents. The emperor grasps the meaning immediately. With the Bingjian king gone and Chu Ziqiao left behind, many of his political headaches would disappear. He gives his command. His man is to follow, remain hidden, and act when the opportunity presents itself, without alerting anyone. Kingren is informed that Ziqiao has returned to her father's house. He remains calm, Confident the emperor's focus is now entirely on him. He smiles, revealing he has left a letter for Ziqiao. Once she reads it, she will understand why he had to leave the capital so abruptly. The Prince of Gulen receives a report that his rival, the Bingjian king, has already left the capital due to an emergency in his fiefdom. The prince's first question is about Chu Ziqiao. He is pleased to learn that she did not accompany the king and has instead returned to her father's home. Seeing his chance, the prince's face lights up with a grin. This is good news, and he immediately gives orders to be taken to General Chu's residence. As he prepares to leave, he gives a final order to his own man. Keep a close watch on the emperor's activities. The prince suggests staying at the general's mansion, but the general politely demurs, citing the impropriety of having a male guest with 2 unmarried daughters in the house. The prince dismisses the general's concerns. His intentions towards Ziqiao are public knowledge, and he insists on seeing her today. The general is inwardly delighted that his useless daughter has won such favor. Outwardly, he claims Ziqiao is quarreling with him and cannot receive guests. Just as the general is about to turn the prince away, Lord Jin makes a sudden and unexpected appearance. Lord Jin notes that he heard the same excuse, but pointedly asks who would dare claim it was inconvenient for him to visit. The general is bewildered. He was told Ziqiao was here. He wonders if something has happened to his man, Zhang. Ziqiao herself emerges, calmly addressing the prince and questioning his presence in her family's small residence. Lord Jin smirks, seconding Ziqiao's sentiment. He suggests that Prince Gulen would be more comfortable at his inn. Ziqiao then directs her attention to Lord Jin, pointedly remarking that if he's here to visit a Chu daughter, he's in the wrong courtyard. The prince steps forward, flanked by a frustrated Lord Jin, and makes his purpose clear. He has come to tell her face to face that he wants her as his princess. She rejects the title outright, reminding him that she is already the future wife of the Bingjian king, an arrangement sealed by the emperor himself. The prince pressures her for an answer. Lord Jin begins to step in to support her, but she holds her ground. Ziqiao firmly declares that she and the general have family matters to discuss. She tells both men, as outsiders, that it is time for them to depart. The general watches them, panicked. In a single breath, his daughter has offended 2 powerful figures he was hoping to rely on. He quickly apologizes for his daughter's behavior, but the 2 men are already leaving, fuming at the dismissal. Once the guests are gone, Ziqiao turns her cold gaze upon her father. Now, it is time to settle their own accounts. He explodes in anger, accusing her of humiliating him. She coolly replies that his eyes are only on power and profit, and he's upset she offended his potential backers. Enraged by her insolence, he raises his hand, threatening to discipline her for speaking to an elder in such a manner. She stands defiant, questioning what kind of elder threatens his own child to steal their secrets. He changes tactics, attempting to appeal to her sense of family, reminding her that blood is thicker than water. She seizes the opportunity to formally sever their ties. From this day forward, she declares, she has no father. He is stunned into silence. Having said her piece, she turns her back on him, preparing to leave the house for good. As a parting shot, she warns him that his enforcer is now her prisoner. If he ever dares to touch anyone around her again, she will be ruthless. Finally free, she reflects on her actions. She has cut ties with the general's residence and can now hurry back to the relative peace of Kingren's home. Upon her return, she is met by her maids. They present her with a letter left by their lord before his departure. She reads the letter, a small smile playing on her lips at his clever plan. Her maid, however, expresses concern for his health on such a long journey. Will follow Kingren and ensure his safety. First, however, there is one last piece of business to attend to in the capital. She gives her maid a task. Spread the news that she broke relations with the general because of her desperate wish to marry the Bingjian king. She lays out her strategy. By framing her actions as a personal wish, the emperor will hesitate to pressure Kingren, and her father will gain nothing from the situation. After her maids praise her cleverness, she cuts them off, telling them to get the business done and prepare for their journey to find Kingren. Back at his palace, Lord Jin finds his mind preoccupied with Ziqiao. His thoughts are interrupted by the news that her sister is once again causing a disturbance at his door. His patience snaps. He slams his hand on the table, enraged by her persistence and determined to deal with her once and for all. He confronts her in the courtyard, where she is on her knees, begging him to marry her and willing to accept even the lowly status of a concubine. He looks down on her with utter disdain, questioning what makes her think she is qualified to be even a concubine when she is already involved with another man. She desperately claims her innocence, but he cuts her off. He has no interest in her dramas and tells her to abandon any hope. His knowledge shocks her to the core. Her mind immediately leaps to one conclusion: Chu Ziqiao must be the one who told him. Having had enough, he turns away, ordering his men to forcibly remove her from the premises if she refuses to leave on her own. As she is forced out, her heart fills with venomous rage. It's all Chu Ziqiao's fault, and she vows that she will make her pay. In his carriage, Kingren sits calmly as his aide reports that a team is tailing them. He knows that only the Emperor would dare to be so blatant. He questions what their objective could possibly be. He comes to a simple, grim conclusion. They are here to stab him in the face, a direct assassination attempt. His sharp hearing picks up their approach. He gives a quiet command to his aide. They're coming, be on guard. A group of armed men blocks the road, declaring their intent to rob the travelers and leave no one alive. Kingren is thoroughly unimpressed. The Emperor, Sidu Huang, is becoming more and more witless with his schemes. Elsewhere, Ziqiao and her party have stopped to rest. They wonder why they haven't seen any sign of Kingren's group yet, concluding he must have traveled through the night. Lingdang expresses her exhaustion from the long ride, wondering how much further they have to go. Danking asks if her lady is tired, having never learned to ride. Ziqiao dismisses their concern, casually attributing her equestrian skills to martial arts practice, while privately recalling her past life. After their brief rest, she determines it's time to continue their journey. They travel deeper into the woods as night falls. The silence is unnerving, and Ziqiao calls out to see if anyone is there. Finding the road empty, Danking voices a growing fear. What if the Lord and his men were ambushed and robbed? Ziqiao's eyes narrow. A darker thought crosses her mind. Perhaps the culprits weren't common thieves at all. They discover a camp ahead. Listening to the men's conversation, Ziqiao realizes they are the Emperor's assassins, sent specifically for Liu Kingren. Her maid panics for the Lord's safety, but Ziqiao sees an opportunity. They will become the hunter, waiting for the perfect moment to strike down the assassins. Near a campfire, Kingren's aide complains about the clumsiness of their pursuers, who have made several failed attempts on their lord's life. Kingren remains calm and patient, content to let the enemy wear themselves out. Soon, they will get impatient and deliver themselves to him. His only concern is for Ziqiao. He hopes that the Emperor and Liao are not making things difficult for her in his absence. A rustle in the bushes signals another approach. One of the men shouts out a warning about another stupid thief. From their hiding place, Ziqiao and her maids observe the assassins. They are prepared for a long stakeout. Ziqiao assesses the situation with a cold eye. Given their dwindling numbers and growing impatience, she is certain their end will come tonight. A young woman is cheerfully determined to stay behind with her lord. She believes together they can defeat all their enemies. The soldiers grow anxious as they wait. A half hour has passed with no signal. A subordinate advises his general to send their remaining men into a desperate final battle. The general gives a grim command. His men are to ride out, find the Bingjian king and his followers, and kill them all on sight. A noblewoman on horseback sees the enemy troops begin to move. She tells her attendant, Lingdang, that they must follow them. The lord notes his subordinate Xiao Tong has been gone for a long time. The clashing of swords nearby tells him the battle has already begun. A weary soldier reports that they are severely outnumbered. His men are fighting bravely, but are exhausted from the overwhelming odds. The lord urges Xiao Tong to hurry as more enemies approach. He swiftly moves away from the campfire into the darkness. He flees into the woods, hearing the thunder of hooves behind him. He assumes the last of the enemy forces are closing in. Hiding in the foliage, he is stunned to see Ziqiao. He cannot comprehend why she has followed him into this danger. The enemy commander berates his troops for their incompetence. He orders them to press on and ensure no one is left alive. The surrounded men see reinforcements charging to their aid. A cry goes up to rally and kill all the attackers. As an arrow flies past a man's hand, a dagger falls. Ziqiao charges forward on her horse, calling out to Kingren. Kingren expresses his gratitude to Ziqiao for the rescue. He steps before her, insisting she rest while he handles the remaining foes. He faces his enemies with a confident smile. He informs them that their journey ends here. None of them will be leaving. The enemy commander is struck down in an instant. He dies in utter disbelief at his opponent's impossible strength. Ziqiao watches with complete faith in his abilities. She knows that as long as his body holds out, few in the world can harm him. With the battle over, he stands among the fallen and turns to Ziqiao. He finally asks her what she is doing here. Ziqiao simply smiles. She explains that it is only natural for her to be worried about her fiancé. He is touched by her words, a faint blush warming his cheeks. He humbly credits his survival to her. He expresses his concern for her safety, suggesting she and Lingdang sleep in the carriage. She, in turn, asks about his well-being. He insists on staying by the fire with Xiao Tong. His attendant's careless outburst about his lord's health earns him a sharp glare. Ziqiao firmly takes his hand. She makes it clear that they will both be sleeping in the carriage tonight. She voices her concern for his health. After exerting himself, he cannot risk any setback that might delay their journey. He looks at her with gentle reassurance. He gives his word that he will not do anything to make her uncomfortable. Leaning closer, he teases her with a playful smile. He wonders aloud if she isn't the least bit afraid of what he might do. Overcome with blushing, she retreats into the carriage. Amused, he jokingly suggests the grass as an alternative sleeping spot. He issues a strict command to his subordinate. Ziqiao's presence must remain a secret, or the man will pay with his life. Inside the carriage, Ziqiao establishes a firm boundary between them. She warns him to be honest and stay on his own side. He smirks, challenging her ultimatum. She internally resolves to kill him without mercy if he dares to cross the line. He formally agrees to her terms with a polite bow. His theatrical seriousness makes her burst into giggles. A slight blush appears on his face as he asks her what she finds so amusing. She grows wistful, reflecting on their circumstances. Had they not fled the capital, they would already be married. He feels a wave of guilt, wondering if she blames him. He worries she resents him for his unilateral plan that endangered her. His insecurity deepens. He fears she must see him as a failure. She embraces him, reassuring him completely. She insists she doesn't blame him for things beyond his control, revealing she had her own plans to leave. He is surprised by her confession. She explains it concerns her mother and is a matter she cannot discuss in detail. Watching her sleep peacefully beside him, he feels a sense of calm. Her unguarded rest confirms her complete trust in him. At a nearby inn, a rival fumes with impatience. She cannot believe she has found no trace of the Bingjian king after 2 days. She aggressively questions a waiter about a caravan led by a handsome man. The waiter is wary of her rudeness and refuses to answer. Her anger boils over into threats. She scoffs at the waiter's impertinence. She viciously whips the cowering waiter. He cries out for mercy, quickly revealing the group left less than half a day ago. She tosses a piece of silver on the floor. It is payment for the information and his injuries. Believing Chu Ziqiao is safely back in the capital, she gallops away. She is certain she can still win the Bingjian king's heart. The attendants observe their lord and Ziqiao by the campfire. They wonder what happened last night to make them so comfortable with each other. Kingren gently offers Ziqiao some freshly cooked food. He warns her to be careful, as it is still hot. They eat in comfortable silence, both looking content. He thinks to himself how lovely his wife is. A faint, desperate cry for help drifts through the trees. He finds the voice familiar. Ziqiao observes that only a trained fighter could project their voice so far, questioning the woman's motives. Ziqiao panics at the sound of the voice. She grabs what she can and tries to pull Lingdang into the carriage to hide. Lingdang is confused by her mistress's sudden panic. The lord simply watches as Ziqiao pulls her attendant toward the carriage. Peeking from the carriage, Ziqiao's suspicion is confirmed. She knows the voice belongs to her sister, Chu Ziqiao. The lord is bewildered by the other Chu Ziqiao's appearance here. An attendant named Hueki reports she has already gone to offer aid. The lord is enraged that Hueki acted without orders. He tells Xiao Tong to prepare her punishment for when she returns. Xiao Tong acknowledges the order to expel Hueki from the Dark Guard. He muses that she has brought this fate upon herself. Hueki returns supporting the injured second miss of the Chu family. She reports to the lord that she found and saved her. The lord turns his back on them, completely unmoved. He coldly states that since Hueki brought her, she can deal with her. The attendants gossip amongst themselves. They wonder what sorcery Chu Ziqiao used to so bewitch their lord that he ignores everyone else. Hueki informs the second miss that they are short on supplies. She will have to ride in the utility van. With a rough shove, Hueki forces the injured noblewoman onto the supply cart. She warns her to stay put. The second miss is secretly seething with fury. She notices Hueki's feelings for the king and sees an opportunity to exploit them. She adopts a sweet and innocent demeanor. She insists she must stay to repay the king's kindness in saving her. Hueki scoffs at the act. She warns the woman to give up, as the Lord would never be interested in someone from the despicable Chu family. The second miss reminds Hueki of her place. She is the daughter of a general, while Hueki is a mere servant. The words hit their mark, wounding Hueki's pride. The noblewoman gloats that she has a chance to be a Rani, a station Hueki can never dream of. Enraged, Hueki grabs the woman's wrist. She furiously defends the purity of her service to the king, insisting she has no ulterior motives. The noblewoman smirks, her words dripping with insinuation. She questions Hueki's true feelings should she herself marry the Bingjian king. Hueki struggles, trying to make the woman understand reality. The Lord's heart belongs to Chu Ziqiao and no one else. The noblewoman leans in, making a shocking offer. If she becomes Rani, she could make Hueki a royal concubine. Hueki is stunned into silence. She questions the woman's plan to marry their lord, confused about her connection to Lord Jin. Inside the carriage, the Lord gently asks Ziqiao if she wishes to see her sister. Ziqiao's answer is firm. She does not want to see her, as nothing good can come of her presence. The second missus taunt about becoming a Rani lands like a blow. Hueki is visibly hurt by the reminder of her lowly station. Enraged, Hueki seizes the woman's wrist. She vehemently denies having any ulterior motives in her devoted service to the king. The noblewoman's expression is smug and mocking. She challenges Hueki's professed pure intentions, insinuating a hidden desire. Hueki desperately tries to make her understand. She insists the Lord only has eyes for Chu Ziqiao and will never love anyone else. The noblewoman offers a tempting, poisonous proposition. She suggests that once she is Rani, she could elevate Hueki to the status of a concubine. Hueki is taken aback by the audacious plan. She questions the woman's intentions toward their lord and her past with Lord Jin. The Lord asks again if Ziqiao wants to see her sister, but Ziqiao refuses. He quietly wonders how her sister found them. He considers the possibility that she is not alone, or perhaps is just a decoy. Ziqiao shares a rumor that her sister was spurned by Lord Jin and may love another. The Lord dismisses it, stating he only has his wife. Ziqiao feels a flicker of unease. She recalls how her sister stole her first betrothal and worries she might try again. She places a finger on his lips, her resolve clear. She vows that no matter what Siru Mayo does, her heart belongs only to him. The depth of her devotion fills him with a joy he's never known. Their intimate moment is broken by Lingdang, clearing her throat as a reminder. Hueki rushes to the carriage in a panic. She exclaims that Miss Chu has fainted and begs the Lord to come quickly. The Lord and Ziqiao exchange a knowing glance. He dryly remarks that it is a very convenient time to faint. He unleashes his cold anger on Hueki. He demands to know if her master is no longer important to her. Hueki falls to her knees, begging for forgiveness. She insists she was just confused for a moment. Ziqiao dismisses her. She tells Hueki to go attend to the second miss and warns her not to make such a mistake again. Walking away, Hueki burns with resentment. It is all Chu Ziqiao's fault that the Lord has become so partial. Hueki finds the second miss still playing unconscious on the cart. She tells her to stop the act, as the Lord is not coming. The noblewoman tries to placate Hueki, whose anger isn't working. Hueki spits back that the Lord will never speak to her while her sister is near. The second miss looks up in genuine shock. She cannot believe who she is seeing. An attendant announces their approach to the town of Anna. They will be able to rest there for the night. The Lord peeks out from the carriage curtain. He gives the order to head into town. Ziqiao stretches, overjoyed at the prospect of a proper rest. He tells her she's worked hard and deserves to go shopping. She eagerly accepts his offer. She is excited to explore a new town with him. He finds her excitement curious. He wonders if she was so confined at home that she never had a chance to visit the capital's markets. He is seized by a sudden, violent coughing fit. She rushes to his side, asking again about his incurable illness. An attendant interrupts, announcing that the second Miss Chu wishes to see him. The news brings on another coughing spell. Ziqiao decides she has had enough. She tells him to allow her sister inside, so she can see for herself what new scheme is afoot. Hueki leads the second miss to a simple room. The noblewoman is indignant that as a general's daughter, she is being treated so poorly. The second miss feigns meekness, claiming she only worried about interrupting. In her mind, she plans how to manipulate the stupid Hueki. She takes Hueki's hand with feigned sincerity. She asks if Hueki will allow her to see the Bingjian king and her sister later. The moment she turns away, her expression becomes venomous. She schemes to turn the lord against her sister as soon as she sees her. Hueki agrees, but with a grave warning. If the noblewoman tries any tricks, Hueki will personally kill her.